What up, drinking buddies? Before we get into the episode this week, just a quick word from our sponsors. As always, we're brought to you by Laughable, the #1 podcast app on iOS, coming soon to Android. Not only can you subscribe to your favorite artists, your favorite shows, you can now buy tickets to comedy shows through the app. Laughable's great. They provide recommendations for shows you should check out, for artists you should check out. Download it today. Just put in Laughable in the search engine. That'll be the first thing that comes up. Also, we are brought to you by DemonSeedRadioNetwork.com. You can hear this show every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. In addition to us, there's a bunch of other awesome shows on DemonSeedRadioNetwork.com, so check it out. So you're probably wondering, what's going on this week? This isn't a typical show. So I was at LA Podfest all weekend last couple weekends ago, and I sat down with a bunch of different people. We kind of crammed it all together, turned it into an episode. First and foremost, sat down with Bert, the motherfucking machine Kreischer. Sadly, Bert's sober this month, so no drinking with Bert, but we're going to do it again. We're going to do it drunk. We're going to do it right. But it was still super awesome to sit down with Bert. He told a previously untold drinking story. Then I sat down with Barry Katz, Bert's former manager, Dave Chappelle's former manager, Dane Cook's former manager. This guy has managed the who's who in comedy. Had a nice long conversation. He might have grilled me a little bit, turned the screws to me a little bit. It was good shit. Then I sat down with Hal Sparks from Queer as Folk, The Soup. Hal talks about his life in comedy, life on the road. Then I sat down with Murray Valeriano from the Road Stories podcast. Murray's a comic, hosts a podcast called Road Stories where other comics come on and tell their stories from the road. Murray's a huge music fan, so we kind of both geeked out on music and drinking and just telling stories. It was a really good time. We're going to also sit down with Murray at some point and do a long form. It'll be good times. Last but not least, sat down with Samm Levine. You may know Sam from Inglorious Basterds, Not Another Teen Movie, Freaks and Geeks. He's been in fucking everything. Sam told a really fun drinking story from years ago in Canada where he may have been busted for doing some underage shit. It's a really fun story. Pop a cold one and enjoy the show, guys. What's going on, everybody? Night one of LA Podfest. I'm sitting here with the machine, Bert Kreischer.
The machine.
The machine. So I didn't get to tell you this before we got on air.
Shoot.
You were like the get that we wanted for the fucking show.
For real?
For real.
Fuck yeah.
And I want to do it again because the show is called And Now We Drink.
Oh, we got to do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
I got to be honest with you. Like, I don't know what's going on with my drinking because I feel so fucking comfortable right now. Like, and I don't normally feel like this. Normally, I'm like, I need a cocktail. Or like I want to go to let's go to the bar. But I don't know. I've had really enjoyed this this sobriety for. It's only what's today? July 5th or
July?
September?
Yeah, it's July.
No, it's October 5th.
October 5th. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only done it for like 6 days, but I'm so happy. So I'm looking forward to my first drink because it's going to be in New Orleans on Halloween night with Ari Shaffir, Big J Okerson, Sal Vulcano, Tony Hinchcliffe. Sarah Tiana, Jamaica, fucking my brain's fried, but I'm really excited. I'm really excited for my first drink, but I'm not really. I think Ralphie's funeral is going to be hard to go to sober.
Yeah,
that's going to be hard to go to.
I was fucking proud that you were able to keep it together today.
Yeah,
everything's fucking going on. It
was a rough day, but you know, it's not as like I've had friends that died immediately. You didn't expect to die, and that catches you off guard. No, I'm not saying everyone expected Ralphie to die, but it wasn't as big of a shock as... Still a shock. A lot more of a shock than I thought it would be. Why am I talking about this again? Yeah, but that funeral is going to be tough to go to sober. Joey Diaz called me today, and he was like, dog, do mushrooms count on this sober thing? I was like, yeah, they definitely count. Because me and him are going to go hit up clubs, and he's like, let's eat mushrooms and do spots tomorrow.
That'd be fucking amazing, though.
It would be really fucking fun. But, yeah. So, yeah, next time we got to do it drinking and have a cigar.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What we can do is we'll find a cigar bar that serves alcohol, and we'll just meet up there and do like a nice cigar and cocktail.
Awesome. Well, normally I do have a co-host, Miss Annie Cruz. She's a former porn star.
Oh, I have a soft spot in my heart for porn stars.
It shouldn't be soft, sir.
I love porn stars. I think there's a connection between porn stars and comics. Like, I feel like we both are in the same industry. We're both up late at night. We all go to the same yoga classes.
Yeah, totally. I wanted her to be here tonight, but she's getting back from Disney tonight, so she won't be here
What was
tomorrow.
she doing at Disney?
Going to Disney?
I'm always shocked when adults go to Disney. We knew these couples. Actually, the guy, Roy Choi, who started the taco truck craze, Kogi Taco, you familiar with that?
Yeah.
He had season passes to Disney, and they would go like 5 times a month.
You would be amazed how many porn girls are so into Disney.
All right, I'm looking her up right now. Annie Cruz?
Yes.
I like that name already. Is she Cuban?
She is Filipino, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know Brent Weinbach was Filipino. I did not see that coming. Wow, she came up right away. Annie Cruz XXX. Yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. Oh, she's got a MySpace profile. She's been doing porn for a while, huh?
She's actually retired now.
Oh, that's why the MySpace. She's beautiful.
People like her.
Yeah. My buddy one time was like, I'd do porn if they didn't show my face. I go, yeah, Grimes, we all would. Yeah, you mean just fuck chicks and no one knew it was you? Yeah, I do that too.
The job's a lot harder than that. You got to get it up, keep it up with a sound guy leaning over you like this, sweating on you.
Yeah, I haven't even really been in a threesome, so I don't know if I could do a porn with like 8 people watching and I'm so fast during sex. I'm like real rapid fire.
Yeah, I can't do that either. You got to be able to get it up, keep it up, stop and go.
Yeah.
Because they got to reset positions, shit like that.
Stop and go.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
I mean that's just I'm already out.
It's a much harder job than it lets on.
Yeah. One time there was this girl, this porn star that was on our TV show, and Gary Valentine was on the TV show, and Gary Valentine's brother's Kevin James, and my buddy Weecho was flying in for the weekend. So I interviewed this girl, and she's like, and I was like, that's so fascinating. Porn's really interesting to me. She was like, well, you should come to the set one time and watch me work. And I was like, I would fucking love that. She's like, I'm shooting Saturday. And I was like, I go, hey, my buddy Weecho's coming in Saturday. Is it okay if I bring a friend? She's like, yeah, oh yeah, that's fine. And so I was like, wow. And so I'm walking with her to my green room because I'm going to get her info. And in the green room is Gary and Kevin. And I go, hey, guys, you guys want to go see a porn this week? And they're like, what? I go, she's doing a porn. You guys want to go watch? And she really really sternly goes, hey, I'm fucking strangers. I'm not knitting a sweater. Let's not invite everybody, okay? And I was like, oh, yeah, I was inviting everyone to go watch her fuck. Did you ever hear the story? Did you ever hear the story about Trey Parker and Matt Stone? So Trey Parker and Matt Stone have that video, Kill Santa Claus or whatever, Jesus Kill Santa Claus. And then it goes viral inside Hollywood. George Clooney sends it to everyone, and they score this big movie deal to do something retardo or the basketball retardo game.
Oh, basketball.
No, maybe it was Orgasmo.
Oh, Orgasmo, yeah.
Yeah, Orgasmo. So I'm going to fuck this story up, but so Evan Stone is there, and Evan Stone, they have a big party, and it's going to be like a porn party all about Orgasmo, and Trey Parker, the blonde one, the one that looks like Jeff Bridges or whatever, he goes, he says to Evan Stone, he goes, hey, do me a favor, introduce yourself as Trey Parker to everyone. And he was like, okay. And he goes, and I'm going to introduce myself as Evan Stone. So he goes around the party, and to everyone in the party says, hey, how you doing? I'm Trey Parker. And, oh, my God, we love your video. He's like, yeah. And so in the middle of the party, the porn thing starts, and then he jumps in and starts railing this girl, and they're like, oh, my God, this Trey Parker's fucking this girl in front of everybody.
I'd heard that story before. I didn't realize it was fucking Evan. Holy shit.
Yeah, I think it was. I might be fucking it up, but I think it was. That guy is a gorgeous man. Not the brightest dude in the world. A gorgeous man.
Believe it or not, he's crazily conservative.
Really?
Yeah. We're friends on Facebook. I get to watch his GOP rants daily.
Oh, him and Tommy Gunn. Do you remember Tommy Gunn?
I know Tommy.
The porn star.
Yeah, I worked for Tommy.
Yeah, and I said to Tommy Gunn, I did an interview with Tommy Gunn, and I go, hey, man, I got to ask you, why did you pick a porn star name of a guy who has AIDS? And he was like, what? I go, Tommy Gunn from Rocky is the character. That was the first Tommy Gunn, and then you picked his names, but the guy is clearly he's got AIDS. His name's Tommy Morrison. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, never mind. There's a porn stars I really like right now that are all DJs.
Who?
This girl, Jessie Andrews.
I know Jessie Andrews, yeah.
Dude, Jessie Andrews is beautiful and cool. Like, she's cool. She's so much younger than me. I have no interest in her in that way. Honestly, she looks like one of my kids' friends. She's got a very young look, so it's like kind of weird, but I follow her on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, she's DJing in Ibiza, or whatever, however you say it. But yeah.
Anyone else?
I'm sorry, I haven't allowed you to. Who? No, Sasha Grey.
Sasha's retired.
Sasha Grey.
I thought she was doing like book tours and shit.
I'm not. I met Sasha Grey. I don't know where I met her. I met Sasha Grey, and I was like, it's very cool what she did. That she just kind of flipped it.
She did the crossover.
Yeah, I was really into porn I'm still am, but like I was into porn and that I knew because we used to do this thing called Vivid Comedy Night, where the Vivid entertainers would show up and then we do comedy with them. Savannah Sampson was a really interesting person. Have you ever seen that? Right, I'll tell you who I'm really into right now is Rocco Siffredi's. Did you see the documentary on Rocco Siffredi's? I have it on my phone, and I started watching it on a plane, and the opening shot is water running off his cock. And I'm like, okay, cannot watch this on a plane.
No, not at all.
But he is so diabolical in the way he fucks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he is not, I don't know if it's sex. I don't know if it's, I feel like with what people connect with in that is almost like, did you ever see One Night in Paris with Savannah Sampson? Was that what it's called?
No, I don't think. One Night in Paris was the Paris Hilton sex tape.
One night in, what's the Savannah Sampson? Hey Siri, what movies did Savannah Sampson do?
I can't wait for my listeners to get that pop up on their phone.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I don't deal with sluts, Bert. Savannah Sampson did a movie with Rocco Siffredi. So this is, by the way, one of the most engaging porns I've ever seen in my life. And I say that meaning like I didn't even masturbate. I just watched it. So Savannah Sampson's on Howard Stern. She's a dancer at Scores, and she says Rocco Siffredi's is I'm married. I have kids, but my husband said I'm allowed to fuck Rocco Siffredi's, and that's the one guy I want to fuck. And Howard Stern goes, I can set that up. I know Rocco. So he sets it up. Rocco Siffredi says, fly her over to Paris. We'll have sex, and we'll film it, and it'll be a porn, and I'll pay her. And so they're like, great. So she flies over to Paris. It's Rocco and another girl. The other girl is almost like the girl that's like you don't know what you got in for, kid. I'm here to help clean up messes. Like almost like I'm the fixer. So it's Rocco and Savannah. And all I will tell you is the first 10 minutes is just an oral scene. And at the end of the 10 minutes, I am swallowing aggressively. I am breathing hard. I'm sweating. My hands are sweating like we were watching those Russian kids jump off top of buildings. I'm sweating. And he goes, do you want to keep going? And you can see in her eyes, she goes, we haven't even really started yet. And it is so aggressive that I am like, oh my God. Like, I was like, I don't know if I can watch the rest of it. And I finished it, but.
Of course you did.
Yeah. But it was, man, he does stuff where you're like, I definitely couldn't do that to my wife.
No.
Put her head in a toilet. Like,
I do have a friend who gets off on that.
I don't.
Yeah, specifically that. She refers to herself as a toilet baby.
Whoa.
Charlotte Sartre. You should look her up.
Charlotte?
Sartre.
I will. I'll look her up tonight. My family's camping. Yeah. So I'm sorry I keep railroading your interview.
No, not at all. This is amazing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
I didn't mean to ask you a bunch of porn questions, but hey, this happens.
Yeah. What questions did you mean to ask me?
Well, I did want to ask you about, Bert's favorite drinking story, but this is more entertaining shit.
Well, I mean, I think my famous ones are the ones I tell on stage.
Yeah, but you got to have other ones that you don't tell on stage.
No, they're not. They all end up with the same outcome. I don't know. We did a Fear and Loathing. There was a building that burned down. There was a building that burned down, a bar that burned down. I think the name of the bar was like Bullwinkles or something in Tallahassee. And me and my buddies went there one night and went and got all the alcohol that didn't explode. And so all the bottles, all the labels were burned off. So you didn't really know what you're drinking, but we had a trunk full of all this burned out alcohol. So
you're like clear or brown.
So we fill up my Jetta with all this alcohol, and we're like, well, we should go do something. And my buddy Mike Osborne goes, let's go on a Fear and Loathing tour. Let's go and just get fucking lost. Like, let's just drive and get lost. So me, Mike Osborne, Clint Munn, and Ben Seberg I think that's it. I think that was all of it. We get in the back of my Jetta, and we just start driving. We get in my Jetta, and we just start driving. And oddly enough, I was never really a big drinker until I went to Russia. But we start driving, and I drive. I don't drink. And we just drive through the night. And we end up in some small town. And we're like, great, let's stay here and party here for the day. And then the next day we drive for the whole fucking night, a whole day, over the night. And we go to another town. And we end up meeting this band called Charlie's on Acid. And they're like, yo, you should party with us. We're in Blacksburg, Virginia, or wherever wherever that school in West Virginia is. And they're like, yo, you should party with us. So we end up partying with these guys and getting a hotel room. Middle of the night, or what I believe is the middle of the night, we get a big knock on the door. Police, we're here, police. So I open the door. And like I said, I wasn't a huge drinker, but I probably got drunk that night. And they're like, tell him not to jump. And we're like, what? And they're like, tell him not to jump. And we're like, okay. And then they go, there's a man on your balcony about to jump. And we look, and there's no balcony. We go, it's not our room. They go, no, it's your room. There's a man on your balcony about to jump. They open our window. It's our buddy Ben Seberg passed out on the ledge of the building with a bottle in one hand dangling, sound asleep. And the cop pulls his gun out with one hand and grabs his belt buckle, puts his gun in his face, and goes, boy, wake up. And Ben wakes up, sees the gun, he goes, you ain't jumping. Are you taking me with you? And I'm killing you before you hit the ground. And Ben's like, I just passed out here. And he goes, get up slowly. This is back in the day when you could get away with shit. And Ben Seberg gets up slowly, climbs back into the window, and the cop goes, what the fuck do we have going on here? All he sees is bottles with all the labels burned off. This band sleep on the floor. Clint Munn, me, Mike Osborne. This is you could smoke in hotel rooms. Smokes filled the room. And he's like, you boys need to get back wherever the fuck you're from. And we got in the car and we drove straight back to Tallahassee from West Virginia.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that was a good story. I didn't really have anything to do with it, but yeah.
Still good times.
Yeah. But, well, listen, I'm going to head downstairs and go have a fucking conversation or something.
Definitely.
But I appreciate you having me on. Let's do this when I'm drinking.
Hell yes.
Can we?
Fuck yes.
Awesome. You got my info?
We'll exchange it.
I'll give you my phone number. It's 323. Oh, kidding.
Yeah, let's not do that on mine. Don't make me clean that up in post, Bert.
Yeah. I don't clean up shit in post.
I know. I tweeted at you about it.
Yeah. I'm like, fuck it. If you say it, it's on there.
Unfortunately, we've had some guests get way drunk and say some shit that their publicists were like, no, that can't go out.
Yeah. I do that on my podcast. I had Nick Thune on, and Nick Thune just started trashing club owners. And I was like, Nick, I go, you want me to take any of this out? He's like, fuck it. It's how I feel. I was like, all right.
Yeah, I had a bassist from a fairly prevalent metal band be like, so where's your favorite place to come on a girl? That all had to fucking go.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck them. Fuck the publicists. All right. We'll do this to be continued.
To be continued.
We'll do it at a cigar bar, cocktails, and do it proper.
Fuck yes.
In
November or later.
Yeah. It's got to have to be in later November.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bert, thank you. So, to continue on with LA Podfest Night 1, we got Barry Katz, Managers of the Stars.
All right, I made the cut.
Hey, happy to have you.
I'm great. It's just so great to be here. You have such a great way about you and a great voice.
Why, thank you, sir. Thank you. Flattery will get you everywhere, I've been told.
And you got your drink in your hand, which is good. I got my water in my hand.
Shh, we shouldn't tell the audience.
I'm sorry. Drinking. Sorry. There's vodka in here.
Barry Katz, high-class manager, sneaking vodka into a Podfest in an Evian bottle. Classy bottle and vodka. Way to go. So, since we're doing short form tonight, Barry, do you drink?
I have an occasional drink once in a while. You know what's weird is I don't drink in front of my kids who are 12 and 13, and people always don't understand that, and I always say, if I drink in front of them, something can happen, bad can happen. But if I don't drink in front of them, I know nothing bad can happen. So when I drink, something may not happen. It might be fine, but I just don't do it. I want them to know that, and maybe this is bad for this podcast. I don't know. You'll probably hang up this microphone violently, but for me, I just feel like, as odd as it sounds, with this podcast being the name that it is, I just feel like there's no good that can come from alcohol. And I love having a drink here and there. I'm not saying that, but if you are blessed with the gene that makes you feel powerless, it's just, I've seen too many people get taken, and I've seen too many people lost, and their gateway was alcohol.
It can definitely swallow people whole if you're not careful. It definitely happens as I take another drink.
Because when you think about it, if you really think about it for your audience, let's just analyze this for a second. And I'm just channeling this through me. I don't have anything planned here with this, but
certainly not.
But when you think about it, what's the purpose when you drink? In my mind, the purpose is I want something to help me feel more at ease, more comfortable, more adaptable to my surroundings, and I want something that's going to help me ease the pain of the things in my life that have taken their toll on me. And those are the reasons why I think most people drink. And they might say, well, I drink socially.
Well, yeah, it helps the social environment side. I regularly refer to it as social lubricant. But to all the reasons you listed, I'll drink to that.
There you go.
It helps with all those things. And it's truly the only socially acceptable drug in American society, world society. Tobacco even has a stigma, but no one's going to blink if you have a glass of red wine at dinner.
No, I think you're right. Sometimes I'll take meetings with executives or producers, directors, showrunners, and what blows me away, it'll be like lunchtime and they'll order a drink. I've gone to breakfast meetings where people have ordered a drink, and I think that sometimes it's always a red flag. One time I was doing a show. I was an executive producer on a show which shall remain nameless, and it was a show that was on its second year. And what happens at a show for your audience, during the show, there's television monitors set up where the director is, and there's these directors' chairs, and producers and directors, and everybody will sit there. And the showrunner was sitting in one of the front seats next to the director. And the showrunner, for your audience, if they don't know, is the person who executive produces the show, may actually write the show, and actually runs the whole show, fires, hires, has people under them. And I know that I wasn't supposed to do this, but I was sitting in the director's chair, and I was just leaning over in the 90-degree counseling position. And you know how sometimes there, at a concert or something, you lean over and your head just happens to be closer to the person's shoulder, and you can see what they're doing, and they were texting. And as they were texting, I saw that they were texting their assistant. And the text said, "Bring me a coffee cup, 3/4 full with red wine, and put a lid on it, and bring it to me right now."
That seems like an odd choice for a morning beverage. Like, if you're going to drink that hard in the morning in a coffee cup, at least go vodka.
Well, maybe. I don't know why they did it that way, but...
Like, red wine, like, it doesn't feel like it has enough impact at that point.
But that was a red flag to me, and that
Oh, it should be.
and that showrunner was not on the show the following year. But it is an honor to be here, and it's weird that I'm talking seriously like this. Normally, on my podcast, I have a little mixture of everything, and
normally so do we.
So I hope I didn't go too horribly on.
No, not at all. Not at all. Normally we're pretty lighthearted, but hey, we can go anywhere. I'm a three-dimensional human being. I have serious moments, comical moments. I can go either way.
Tell me something that's happened to you, since I don't really know you. What's happened to you on your podcast that is something that really blew you away and you didn't expect it, and it just happened, and it was one of the moments that you're really happy about on the podcast?
Well, it's probably a highly unprofessional moment, but we did have a guest who got a little lit, because we do drink on this show, who decided to put her breasts in my face and then decided to blow me the minute we hit cut.
Did you go up to your room, or was it right there in the podcast studio?
About 5 feet away from the podcast studio.
And what was your co-host doing?
Texting. She's just like, okay, yeah, that's happening.
Now, what's odd is that literally it takes a crane, some chopsticks, some duct tape, and some pills for me to get it up. And it has to be a dark room, and it has to be quiet, and there can't be any noise or anything like this. You're in the middle of a podcast studio, the lights are on, everything's happening, and you can still get it up. That's pretty impressive. Maybe I should start drinking this fucking bourbon. Where is this here?
Barry, you're more than welcome to some. There's just a glass left for you.
You think this will help me?
Definitely.
All right.
Definitely. That was definitely a unique situation. Like, I'm not.
Now, were you able to actually finish the thing that happened? Did you come to fruition?
I did not. Mostly because I'm one of these people that, like, once oral starts, I want to actually bang. And she was on her period, and she decided that was not a good idea. Not that it bothers me.
Did you ever see her again?
Mostly because I'm Hollywood flaky now. We made plans, and then I flaked.
Now, here's another weird question for you. When you sobered up, or you became sober, and then would you have been attracted to her if you were sober?
Definitely.
Oh, okay.
Attractive girl.
You know, the thing, if that happened to me, the first thing I'd think about was, all right, how many times has this person done this?
Don't care. It's not Everest. I'm not planting a flag. I don't care if I'm first, last, or in between. As long as I don't catch a disease on it, who cares?
Are you good with the women?
I'm all right. I have my moments.
Are you confident?
No, I'm horribly shaking in my... Yeah, I'm okay.
Like, you know how, like, for instance, like a client of mine who I love, Brad Williams.
I love Brad.
Brad, for your audience, if they don't know, he's 4'4", and he's married to a full-size, beautiful woman.
They met on a threesome site, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they met on a site called Thrinder. Doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's called The Field now.
And one of the people didn't show up, and the rest is history. But the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, he has so much confidence. Dwarfism means nothing. It's like, it's just a word. You know, I get out of the shower and literally I look in the mirror and I feel like I look like a bag of onions. This guy has dwarfism, and he's the most confident, unbelievably powerful guy, and, you know, can be with anybody, and clearly because he's with one of the most beautiful women I've ever met, and it's really wonderful to see. So that's why I asked you if you're the kind of person who's also confident.
It's what you project. And if you project confidence, you project this is where you want to be. People believe this is where you want to be. It's my mentality. Works okay sometimes.
Fantastic.
Besides my sexual endeavors, misadventures, Do you have any good drinking stories that you'd like to share with our audience?
In terms of drinking, the stories are ones that you might not find so exciting, but to me, they mean something to me, and they normally involve artists.
Okay.
Because, in the early years when I started, I was a doorman at a comedy club, and it would be the comedy boom in the 80s, and these guys were drinking so much that I saw so many comedians, they'd start off their set coherent, and at the end of their set, they'd be slurring words and couldn't even finish their sentences. And I vowed to myself that I never wanted to be in a situation where if I could avoid it, to represent anybody who was in those situations, and to be in those situations myself. I never wanted to be that guy.
You never want to be sloppy.
Yeah, so I was never a person that I think lost control when it came to that. Don't get me wrong, I wanted to, I wanted to feel like I could let go and drink, and I think there's something really, pardon the expression, intoxicating about it. There's something really exciting about being in a situation, especially if you're in a relationship or close to getting into a relationship. There's something really special about that thing where you drink with that person and you notice that the walls are coming down, and you both can feel confident doing things or making moves or saying things that you never would say before.
Once your inhibitions are lowered.
Yeah, well, or expectations are lowered or whatever it is. But I think that in terms of that, I mean, look, I was at SNL. I had like so many clients on SNL, and you're hanging around with people like Farley, and as Jay Moore would say, Chris Farley was a wrecking ball of joy, but just completely. Alcohol was just like it was like fuel, and it was just like nonstop. And even when you didn't see it happening, you're like, this had to happen somewhere. But then you wonder about certain things. Would Snoop Dogg, I mean, the guy is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Every time I'm around anywhere where he's at, and it's not like we're friends or I know him, but, I've been on set. It's literally a contact high everywhere. Like every moment of the day, this guy's high, yet he's brilliant. So, or Chappelle, when he was starting, would probably smoke a bag of marijuana a day. Brilliant. So, I mean, there's certain people that obviously things do help, and
they get them where they need to be.
Yes. Let me just take one break here, and don't leave me. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
That's what editing's for. I love Bert Kreischer. Bert Kreischer is wonderful.
No, Bert was amazing. Bert did an amazing live podcast tonight, and then when he came and did the show, it was a lot of fun. Started talking to him about porn, which he amazingly knew a lot more about porn than I thought he would.
If I could use another Jay Moore line, which I love, he says, you're watching a lot of porn as a guy when you can recognize an actor by his balls.
Not to throw Jay under the bus. The first time Jay met my co-host, he said, I've never seen you not squirting before.
So your co-host, I don't know your show, so your co-host is an adult star.
Retired, but yes.
Interesting. I interviewed Catherine Oxenberg for my podcast, the woman who was on Dynasty, and she talked all about how when she turned 45 or 50, she went to this retreat and with tantric and everything, and it taught her how to have better orgasms. And she talks about how she has these huge orgasms and squirts now, and it's like, and she says every woman is capable of doing it, and I clearly don't know anything about it because I'm, maybe if I go to a woman's prison, maybe I might have some success. But
You've never made a woman squirt?
I have.
Okay, so you're not that far behind. Come on.
No, but I mean, it's like if you make 1 or 2 or 3, that's not like making everybody do that. I don't even, if I can be honest with you, I have no fucking idea what I did to them that was different for what I did to the other people, but it happened.
Hey, that's all that matters. You made them squirt. They wanted to give you repeat business, I'm assuming. Life is good.
God, I'm learning a lot about you now. This is exciting.
I'm excited too. Are we both excited? This is kind of weird. Like 2 heterosexual males on mic excited. Kind of weird.
I feel so awkward that I didn't know that you. Now, how did you hook up with this person to do the podcast? What was the, like, how did it come about? Like,
So my former co-host, who is also an adult performer, was leaving the show. And
now she was retired too?
No, she's an active performer.
I had a client who hosted the AVN Awards this year, Colin Kane.
Oh, cool.
We had fun out there.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah,
I was there too.
Las Vegas.
I was there too.
I was, backstage with him, and he was having a blast.
Nice.
I mean, it's a hard gig to make it work, believe me.
Oh, I know. I know. This was my 8th AVN this year.
Really?
Yeah. I actually may be nominated this coming year.
You were nominated.
Yeah, best non-sexual.
I don't understand.
I played a rabbi in a porn this year. I did. I played a rabbi in a porn called Jews Love Black Cocks.
That's fantastic.
So the nominations will be coming out next month. I will find out for certain if I was nominated or not.
That's right. The AVN Awards are coming up, right?
In January.
Who's hosting this year?
I don't know. I'll have to text somebody to find out.
Got it.
Speaking of hosts, I saw Kate Quigley earlier tonight.
I love Kate Quigley. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she was doing Bert's show.
Oh, she was?
Yep.
It was her and Bert and who else?
I'm very rudely spacing on the third person's name.
God, Kate Quigley, she's one of the most beautiful women in the world. I mean, she's incredible and funny, too. They always say in sitcoms, God doesn't give with both hands, but they did so with her.
It's the rarity of, Kate has said herself, she grew up and she wasn't attractive as a child, so she had to develop a sense of humor.
When did she become attractive?
According to her, at 30.
What happened?
She divorced her husband.
Her husband made her unattractive?
She was with that dude for 10 years. I don't know. This is just what she says. I'm not trying to speak out of school.
Did you ever want to be a Jewish pornographic star?
No. I know what goes into being male talent, and it's a lot of work that I'm not willing to do.
I heard there's only about 20 men who can actually, on command, can get hard on command, can come on command, can get soft on command, can do whatever it is. Is that true?
It is very true. And on top of it, think about the fact that you have to bang people that you're not necessarily attracted to, especially when you're starting out. If you're starting out as male talent, you get booked with whoever you get booked with. Mr. Pete tells a great story about the first person he ever did a scene with was 65 years old and asked if she should leave her teeth in. I like choosing who I bang. I sometimes make really poor choices, but I like choosing.
I remember I went to a urologist one time, and I asked him what the most unique and difficult things he deals with as a urologist.
Barry, you sure you don't want the last taste?
No, you have it.
You sure?
Positive. Thank you.
Come on, drink with
Thank
me.
you so much.
Come on.
I'm good.
Oh, fine.
You can't have me on heroin in a week. And
I'm not trying to get you on heroin.
And
Jesus.
I asked him what it was, and he said it's the people who do the injections. He gets a lot of people who come in with the self injections, and apparently there's some kind. I didn't know this, that a lot of adult stars, they do the injection, which keeps them hard for 4 hours, and there's not even anything in your mind could even, like, if you said to yourself, there's a car accident and people are bleeding, you're still like rock hard.
That injection is meant for paraplegics.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, when I was, a lot of people don't know this about me, but when I was in college, I was an adult aide to the director of disabled student services at my college. And I was, got free rent if I would take care of them 3 days a week. And what a lot of people don't know, which I'll share, is in terms of how a person pees who doesn't have any use of those nerves, is there's a long process, and I'll go with it as quickly as possible because there's going to be a point to this story.
Okay.
Is that what they do is they get themselves hard. They put glue on their penis. They put a condom on. They cut off the top of the condom, and then they put some tubing, tie it to the top. It goes down their leg to a bag by their ankle, and then there's a release point where they can empty when the bag gets full because it's just urine constantly coming out. And every morning when I helped this person do this, they could get themselves hard without any pill or anything like that. So when you say that it's for paraplegic and quadriplegics, this particular person was able to get that way.
Huh.
So what percentage of the porn stars, the male porn stars, use the injection?
I wouldn't know offhand, but I mean, there's a fair amount that use injections and use Cialis or Viagra. And there's a couple old school guys who just are crazy people who just get hard.
Do you know the most common phrase uttered on television?
I do not.
Can you guess?
No, I really can't.
By literally 20 times, this phrase is the most used phrase on television. If you have an erection lasting more than 4 hours, please call your doctor.
I wasn't thinking of infomercials. I was thinking of sitcoms and... Wow.
Can I take one more break?
Of course.
When I was representing Dave Chappelle, he did this one-person show in Edinburgh called The Adventures of Trick Whitey Man.
In Scotland?
Yep.
Wow. That's like the whitest place to do something like that. You don't get much whiter than Edinburgh, Scotland.
No, you don't.
How'd it go?
How do geniuses go?
Pretty well, I'm assuming.
Fantastic.
So where did you first find Chappelle?
There was a manager who ran my comedy club in New York, the Boston Comedy Club. It actually was in New York, believe it or not, in Greenwich Village, next to Il Molino, and a block from Washington Square Park. And actually, Anderson Cooper bought the firehouse next door and now lives there. And he told me that this kid came in on an open mic night, and to come see him the next night I did, and he just blew me away. I knew I wanted to work with him. I knew he'd be one of the greatest. He tells these great stories, but I just shook his hand, and I told him, you're going to be the next coming of comedy. You're going to change the face of it, and I want to represent you. And he asked me how I knew that, and I just said, it's like the dead zone. I can just feel it.
That's fucking amazing. That is absolutely fucking amazing. And you're 100% right.
Who do you love? Like, what are your favorite comedians, and who would you put on the proverbial generic Mount Rushmore that people talk about?
Living or dead?
Living.
Chappelle. Louis. The other two, that's rough. Burr, I love Burr. I used to have said Chris Rock, but until I found out that a lot of people are writing for Chris. So it's like, well, you're not writing for yourself. Like, you have a great delivery, but you're essentially acting. The fourth. It's really rough. That was really rough. I do really enjoy Rogan.
So you got Chappelle, you got Burr, you got
Louis,
CK, and you're looking for one more.
I know. The fourth is super hard. It's a very crowded field these days.
Really? There's a crowded field of geniuses in comedy?
I think so.
Really?
Well, I mean, you're the expert, and
No, I'm not the expert. I'm just one person.
You're one person who has picked many,
Why don't you tell me, in your mind, forget Mount Rushmore now.
Okay.
Why don't you just tell me, you already named 3 of them, and tell me all the other geniuses in comedy.
I definitely enjoy Brian Callen every time he performs live. I'll text him. He probably would. You're right. Of course. All right. So where were we? You're grilling me on who. Yeah, Callen probably would not say he's a genius.
Who are your geniuses in comedy? You already mentioned 3. Yes, I want candy.
Under the table so you can still find them.
Where will that table be?
Over at the end there.
All right, I'll find it. Thank you.
Apparently, Barry Katz is bribed with candy.
I've got some serious problems. I don't know what it is.
We all do.
A couple more candy bars. He'll be representing you.
I'm sorry. I'm just taking a few of these.
Cool.
Don't apologize. So, who else would I... Genius is so subjective.
Stop with the bullshit. Tell me who the geniuses are.
You're supposed to be the one who knows who the geniuses are. You represent people. I'm just some
You said there's a lot of people. Tell me.
There are. Rogan's a genius. I think Callen's a genius. Tom Segura. I enjoy the fuck out of whatever Bert does. There's a lot of very talented people doing comedy these days. I love that you're just not holding a microphone. You're just staring at me.
Staring at you because the question is, tell me all the geniuses in comedy. And you're saying names that some of them, which we all know, are fucking amazing, great comedians and performers who draw thousands and thousands of people. But I'm asking you who you feel, and they would say, like, I haven't been around Joe Rogan. He started in Boston, but I haven't been around him in a long time. So I don't know if he would say he was a genius or not. I will tell you this about Joe Rogan that I'll say about him. What he has done, he's like the Saturday Night Live of podcasting. What he has done, he's like Lorne Michaels of podcasting.
He actually did better numbers for his Alex Jones episode than the SNL season finale did.
For his what episode?
The Alex Jones
did
more downloads than SNL did views for their season finale.
Yeah, I mean, but even, let's pretend that wasn't the case. He's just done so much for so many people and helped drive forward their careers, and he's an example of paying it forward. And so
an appearance on Rogan's podcast makes someone's career 100% at this point.
Yeah, so it's pretty incredible what he's done and what he's doing. I just don't know, I guess it would be up to him to say that. I don't know, but I certainly know Bert would not sit here and say that he feels like he's in the category of Chappelle. Who was the other person you mentioned?
Segura.
Yeah, Tom Segura would never sit here and
Do you
say
really
that.
think Chappelle would say he's a genius?
Yes, I
Really?
do. If I were talking to him, and I'm not trying to be egotistical. I represented him for 8 years, but I was just with him. I was just with him at the Def Jam 25 taping, and I'm backstage, and it's not even a traditional theater. It's just like a
What, they
linoleum.
didn't do
It's
that
like,
at the Apollo?
No.
That's fucked up.
I know, it's like a linoleum hallway in the back there, and I'm there with there's Steve Harvey and Chappelle and Cedric the Entertainer and all these amazing Mike Epps, Tracy Morgan, Chappelle, just nonstop people. And I took Dave aside. I probably shouldn't share this, but I will.
I appreciate it.
I took him aside and I said, there's two geniuses in this room tonight in terms of comedy. And he walked a little bit off to the side with me. And he says, who are the geniuses? I said, you and Cat Williams. And I said, I'm not sure if Cat Williams is a genius because of all the holes that have been blown through him through his life and all the difficult things and how that has just manifested itself into this no fear, no holds barred, incredible stream of consciousness, or it would have always been like that way. But I consider him, his content to be of genius caliber, and I consider you. And I'll never forget, he looked at me and he took a puff out of a cigarette and blew it out, and he said, in a choir voice, he said, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, but he didn't interject it. He didn't say that I'm a genius. He agreed with you. There's a difference there.
Is there? What's the difference?
It's a matter of ego.
No, just tell me what the difference. I say there's two geniuses in the room, you and Cat Williams. And what's the difference if...
He didn't come up with the idea first. He just agreed with your idea.
So you have to come up with an idea first for it to be valid.
Not necessarily, but it makes it a little more valid.
Got it. Okay. So you've named three geniuses in your mind: Louis, Burr, and Chappelle.
Chappelle, yes.
Do you want me to go with my genius list?
Of course.
And I people could disagree with me.
Well, I'm sure people will disagree with my list.
But I like your three. I like your three on there. I agree with you. What Louis and Bill are doing is unprecedented in how prolific it is.
Especially with Bill's podcast. The fact that he, twice a week, no guests, just fucking rants and makes a fucking super entertaining podcast is amazing to me.
It's incredible. And I represented all three of those people. And I'm honored that I had the time with them. To me, the greatest gift is being around people who, are extraordinary. You can't beat it. And so another person I'd mention on the list, I would put Chris Rock on the list. I think that, whether some people write for him or not, the bottom line is, this guy was doing CB4 before anybody.
I love that movie, by the way.
So, he's done so much. He's an amazing talent. He's an amazing businessman, and I have enormous respect for him. So he's number 4 on my living list.
Oh, I have a ton of respect for him. Don't get me wrong.
But you took him off the list.
Well, it takes a little away from when you find out that other people are writing his material.
Got it.
It does. If I found out someone was writing for Louis or Burr or Dave, it would take away from that too.
You ever hear a great song that was written by Paul McCartney singing a song that was written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney? Do you think the song sucks unless it's written solely by Paul McCartney? Because if that's the case, then you must hate a lot of Beatles songs.
I do.
All right, then we're in.
I'm an Elvis man. No, I'm just fucking
All
with
right.
you.
What do you think? Elvis wrote Fever?
Totally.
Anyway, so I'm gonna keep going with my list here. So
Please do.
in no particular order, we're going here. I'm gonna go with Jim Jeffries next.
Jim is amazing.
Jim, what Jim does on stage, there's nothing like it in the world. So I think that's great. So what's that? That's 5.
It is.
I'm going to go with Steve Martin. He's living.
He is. He also hasn't done stand-up in 20 years.
Doesn't matter. He's the stand-up who's living.
Fair enough.
So I'm going to go with Steve Martin. And this is why it's so hard, because comedy's never been hotter. But I think there's very few people you look at and you say, holy shit, there's something really, really unique happening here. Look, I worked with Dane Cook for, I think, 17 years. What he accomplished as an artist and a businessman was unprecedented.
Madison Square Garden.
He could press a button and sell out Madison Square Garden 2 shows in one night, Boston Garden 2 shows in one night. To this day, there has not been one comedian who's ever sold out 2 shows in one night at those places. But
No, not at all.
Also, he had a combination of stand-up that was like, again, people will disagree with me or agree with me, but I'd say a third of his comedy was equal to Chappelle or Burr or CK or Chris Rock. But then a third was silly, and then a third was just really shock value, blue relationship humor. And so he never got totally in that category because he mixed it up in different ways like that. And so that's what can happen sometimes. But he was an amazing performer as far as a performer was concerned. If I gave genius marks to people who could act out and perform their material, I'd say that there was probably very few people that were better at it than him. But again, I'm just talking about the categories that we're talking about. And it's just, when you look at it, it's just so hard to think about. You know, look, Jon Stewart, as a host on a talk show, brilliant, genius. Letterman as a host on a talk show, genius. His stand-up,
Definitely.
but the stand-up didn't, I don't think, approached the level of what Chappelle's doing right now.
No one remembers David Letterman's stand-up. No one.
I mean, I went to Radio City Music Hall to see Dave, and it was the night after Charlottesville. And he just got on stage and he said, look, I apologize, everybody, but I'm just going to be talking about Charlottesville. And he did like almost an hour on Charlottesville. I don't even know. People were like rolling in the aisles. I don't know how he did it, where he wrote it, where he came up with it, but it was pretty amazing. And so I try to think about these things, and I think about it a lot because there are so many great people out there. Look, Louis Anderson is amazing to watch and just so great to be around, and he's like a living legend, and he's
doing multiple shows in Vegas a week, right?
Yeah, and he's won 4 Emmy Awards. He's just so wonderful, and I can't stop laughing when I see him, and I love him as a person. Will he go down as a genius? I don't know if he will or not, but I do know that there isn't anybody who doesn't love, being around him and seeing him perform. So he has this reaction that he gets from people. So, I mean, there's a lot of special people. I think of, I mean, I think of so many people that work so hard. Like, Ellen DeGeneres, just incredible, the work ethic that she has and how powerful she is. And her stand-up is just brilliant. So do I put her in that category? I loved her stand-up. I don't know. Maybe I just think of some people at just this level that is another gear, and it doesn't mean that somebody who's under that gear is bad or they're not as good or they couldn't blow those people off the stage, because they could. Dane Cook or George Lopez could go on stage and probably take Louis C.K. out or Bill Burr out or Chappelle out by going on before them for a half hour, because they just know how to make a crowd their own and say, take that, motherfucker.
They have many, many, many miles behind them.
Look, and there's some really special people out there. Look, Kevin Hart is selling out football stadiums.
It's fucking awesome.
But he would even sit here and say, I'm not where Chappelle is right now. And that's...
Chappelle has also had a very unique road. After the Chappelle show and the time he took off, Chappelle has done it his way the whole way. There's something to admire about that.
Absolutely. Well, when you can turn down $50 million, the power of no, and you have the guts to believe in yourself that much, which we talked about earlier on the show, and 10 or 12 years later it comes back to you and you get the money back and 10 million more. That's a great thing. It's sometimes you have to walk away from things to get everything you want, and unfortunately, when after your podcast you didn't walk away from things, and and that's sometimes good things happen when that doesn't. See, I'm different from you. If that girl said that to me, I would say, I can't. You think we could talk first?
Nah, there's no room for talk.
Well, I feel good. I'm learning a lot from you.
Speaking of Chappelle, I actually saw him on tour in 2007, right after Chappelle's show ended. Like, he did a theater tour, and I watched him explain to the audience why he walked away from it. It was amazing. He used a stool and be like, this is a pile of money, and this is Comedy Central putting their dick on it. You just gotta touch it, Dave. You just gotta touch it. I will never forget that shit. It was fucking amazing.
I'll tell your audience one final story, and then we'll get out of here about the money. So I get a call from the president of Comedy Central, who just happened to be the first guest on my podcast, Industry Standard, over 225 episodes ago. And it's this amazing thing that happened, that he called me and he said, can you get Dave to meet me? Can you get him to come to my office? I said, I'm sure I could. I haven't worked with him in a while, but I have a good relationship with him. He says, good, because I have a check on my desk underneath a paperweight for $27 million made out to made out to him. I said, I can't get him there then. I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I can't get him. And the president started yelling at me. He said, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't understand. You said you could get him here, and now I tell you I have a check for $27 million, and you say you can't get him here. I said, I can't get him there because if you tell him to go there, it's like he cashes that check, you own him, and he doesn't want that. He just wants to stay where he is and not have to deal with that. And this guy, Doug Herzog, it's a great interview. He yelled out, but it's a check for $27 million. And Dave leaned over to me when he told him the story. And right when I said, the guy said, it's a check for $27 million. Dave leaned over and he looked at me and he said, "That sounds a little light."
Holy shit. Holy shit. And Barry Katz just dropped the mic.
Mic drop. Listen, for your audience, check out Industry Standard. You can download it. It's free, obviously. You know that. And I've interviewed everybody from Kevin Hart to Dr. Phil to David Copperfield, Judd Apatow. Got Caitlyn Jenner coming up. It's all about the inspirational journey from humble beginnings and how they got to the next level. It's a great resource. Just listen to me on twice speed so you don't have to listen to my voice. And then just get to them and enjoy it. And this has been a pleasure. And I'm sorry I missed your co-host because Lord knows I need to be blown in the middle of a lit ballroom.
Don't worry, we'll do it again. Do a proper podcast instead of this short form bullshit.
Well, it was an honor. I'm sorry I didn't drink with you, but I had fun anyway. Thank you.
And good night, all.
He did say
So we're sitting down with Hal Sparks, who has been a teetotaler his whole life. So
That's right.
we're not going to get any fun drinking stories out of him per se, but
Yeah, not firsthand, anyways.
we got ones that you were a witness to that you care to share. Normally we're like long format, sit down, like actual conversations. But since I know I have limited time with you, we're just
That's
trying
right.
to get.
Yeah, I mean, throughout my entire life, like I was the only teetotaler in my entire group of friends, and I ended up being the designated driver in high school for everybody. And it's interesting because even to this day, I've never had a drink, not interested.
Just not interested.
Yeah, I consider myself like the one white rat that's taking the placebo, like in a 99-1 control group, and I'm part native, part Irish. Like if anybody's got the genes for fucking this up, it would be my family.
Is it a fear of like once you start, you're not stopping?
No, I mean that would be a genetic concern, I suppose. But I've always had something better to do. Like, and I don't need any help relaxing. I'm already full of shit, which is great. Because I think, like, to me, using alcohol as like social lube is the idea that most people. That is there's two strategic forms it comes in, which is social lube and post-work relaxation. A beer after work to calm down or to take the edge of the day off, or getting slightly buzzed so you can talk to somebody and
Build up that nerve to talk to the girl at the bar.
And I've always been very relaxed, and equally, I have no nervousness about interacting with people. And if I do ever, I don't take it as a sign of that I'm somehow less in this. I take it as that my own intuition or some sort of guardian angel is saying, "Don't talk to that bitch. She's terrible." So there's you know what I mean? Like it has saved me from bad relationships. The only other problem is,
sure.
I do feel for people who drink in that I hate the drink responsibly ad campaign.
Definitely.
Because I think ultimately the whole point of drinking is to avoid responsibility. You know what I mean? Like,
Definitely.
It's like, dude, you fucked my cat. I was drunk. Like the whole point of drinking is to avoid some level of responsibility for your actions.
I wholly agree. I mean, just between you, I, and the audience, I may have tried to pick up a 55-year-old last night.
See? That's what I mean. Yeah.
The sober this morning,
Right.
like, what the hell was I doing last night?
And if I ever tried to pick up a 55-year-old, it's because I meant to pick up a 55-year-old,
To be fair, I could tell she was very good looking when she was younger.
Yeah, all right. There you go. So the genes are still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's got one egg left. You can freeze it, use it later.
Oh, no, I want no part of that.
I see. All right. Well, I ultimately, I just have a... And most, quite frankly, the industries that I'm in, alcohol has consumed a good number of humans.
Definitely.
And so to avoid that, so when I won the Funniest Teenager in Chicago contest when I was 17 years old. Most people don't know I came in second when I was 16, the year before. But it was an age group difference. So when I came, I was first in my age category, second overall. The next year I won the whole kit and caboodle because the older category was the automatic win, I guess because you could get a job. But one of the things I won was a show at the Laugh Factory when I won. Okay. Well, when I won, though, this was 1987, so the Laugh Factory was not the Laugh Factory we know now. Fox Network turned that into a TV studio, basically, version of a comedy club in like the mid 90s with a show called like Fox Sunday Comics. I think it was. Yeah. And so they poured a ton of money in, remodeling the Laugh Factory,
making it a set.
Originally, it was like the belly room at the Comedy Store. It was basically Jamie Masada was trying to recreate one room of the Comedy Store a few blocks away.
It's still one of my favorite rooms in the city.
That's right. And so, but it was jet black. It was one room. The backstage area had like, I basically I walked in and I was assuming I was out here for a 1 week trip. My dad took me out here to audition for some things, hoping that I wouldn't get them and he would teach me a valuable lesson about the industry and I would just choose a more sensible line of work. I got both of the jobs that I went up for and had to choose between the two. And then I had to do a set. We went over to the Laugh Factory. I was like, I've won a set. I should go talk to them about making this happen. So I went to the Laugh Factory and I went, by the way, my name's Hal Sparks. I won the Funniest Teenager Chicago. And they said, I won a performance here. And they went, okay, we'll put you on the list. And it was like an open mic kind of thing. Like they just added me to the night. It wasn't an open mic, but they just chucked me in
just
there.
Just kind of threw you in the middle.
25 comics going on.
Oh,
doing
wow.
6 minutes each, maybe. And they were all packed into the back where there was no backstage. It was just like a closet full of comedians. So I went up after a while, did 10 minutes, murdered. My dad was, horrifyingly impressed by how comfortable I was and how well I did. And so I went, they didn't really ask me for credentials when I told them I won a performance here. Why don't we try this at the Comedy Store, too? So we drove down to the Comedy Store. I went up and went, hi, I'm Hal Sparks. I won the Funniest Teenager Chicago contest, and I won a performance here, and they put me on in the main room.
Oh, shit.
They put me on almost a headlining spot. They gave me 15 minutes in the headline show that night in the main room. Walk on sight unseen, right?
That's amazing.
At 17, I had to be escorted through the bar to the club, because I was underage. But they let me be in the backstage like no big fucking deal. Well, I go back there, and at this time, this is 87, like I said, Richard Lewis and Sam Kinison were both backstage.
Oh, shit.
And there's this mirrored piano in the green room, which is jet black, backstage in the main room. And there was a pile of blow on there that would make Scarface blush. And they were pulling lines off this shit. And I remember, I thought it was a joke. I thought they were filming a sketch. It was so
cartoonish.
Such an absurd amount of cocaine.
Wow.
That I was like, I don't even know how to wrap my head around this. And they were just going to town. And I remember, kind of watching them. And they both kind of thumpered through their set. Richard kind of was talking faster than he normally does. And he's always scatterbrained anyway. So he probably used it as a ADD drug, and Sam just was keeping his heart going, I suppose, at that point. It was normal, but I remember being backstage going, okay, this is super cliche for Hollywood. This is right out of a movie. And I went, I'm not going to fall for this shit. I'm not going to get involved with this, and because I couldn't drink, I was too young to, drink and work. I was like, if I even get a drink on the side backstage someplace, I won't be able to work again for the next 4 years. So I was like, that's it then. I'm just, straight edge for life. And it worked. It paid off.
Hey,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I ended up sponging vomit off the side of my dad's Chevy Cavalier regularly almost every weekend in high school, driving my friends home as they would barf out the passenger window, basically taking the paint off the door.
That is a horrible price to pay.
Yeah, and I used to, I used to have this joke in my act about how I don't, I don't drink, but I also wouldn't sleep with a woman who's been drinking ever, and even a little bit. Partly because I want her to be present and be able to really want to be there. If you need a drink to take the edge off, you're not ready for this magic. But also, I don't want to work that hard in bed and have her forget the next morning. Oh my God, what happened? What do you mean what happened? What the fuck was I doing for 4 hours? What do you mean what happened? Thank God I filmed it.
Well, especially in this day and age, that it's just a horrible things with how consent works these days. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's crazy that I could be drunk and she could be drunk, but I'm at fault.
That's right. That's why I only have sex with Snapchat glasses on. In every circumstance. Your Honor, I know she looks like a panda bear right now, but trust me.
She was into it.
Yeah, she was into it. Right. But yeah, I mean, that's another, it's another good reason. Because I've been in a couple of situations, I have to say, where I've been like making out or fooling around with a girl, and like I very distinctly had this memory of this one girl going, like, I don't like backing out of it essentially in midway and going, I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't. She goes, oh, when I said no, didn't mean it. And I was like, I'm sober. You didn't say no until now. But now that you've said no, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, holy shit. And she was playing, this was something she was doing. She was setting this circumstance up. And luckily it was before I was famous, so nobody would have given a shit ultimately.
It's still not right.
No, it's not right. Yeah. No. But she was definitely setting me up for this situation. And I was like, if I'd been drinking at all, I'd be fucked right now. So like that being said, I grew up around my dad drinking whiskey and playing bluegrass till 3:00 in the morning. And there was a certain level of like pleasure that they took from that, that they still have to this day. I used to sleep under my dad's chair while he was playing bluegrass with all of his friends, and they would drink a fifth by themselves. It was amazing. Like I don't even understand how they operated.
It takes practice.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you build up a
tolerance.
Yeah,
You get some practice in.
that's right.
I'm kind of curious. What did your dad do in Chicago, if you don't mind me asking?
He's an architect, but he also does fret work on bluegrass instruments. So like he does Bela Flex frets on his banjo before he does an album. He does Sam Bush, the mandolin player, does his fret
cool.
work. I grew up around all those guys. Vince Gill is a family friend, has been since I was 2 years old, back when he was in Pure Prairie League.
That's awesome. No, I just between the Film Threat panel and what you're talking about, that your dad was so adamant about you getting into entertainment, I was curious what he did with himself.
Yeah, no, he was the black sheep of the family because he chose not to be a teacher. And then at one point he wanted to design cars, and my grandfather was like, nobody designs cars. That's not a job. And so architecture was the more stable version of that. But ultimately, the lesson of my life was that my dad probably would have done just as well as he's done, and he's done very well, but as a car designer as he would have been as a architect.
I feel that's just a Midwestern thing. A lot of Midwestern families want you to play it safe. My family always encouraged me to get into the trades instead of doing anything creative. Like an electrician will always have work.
That's right.
And it's just the Midwestern mentality.
Yeah, as long as you don't decide to work at a factory or any of that shit, because then, I very distinctly remember this moment where I had a cousin who was working at the Fruit of the Loom plant, and she had a stable, regular job there, office job, and she decided to quit and go teach scuba diving in Hawaii.
That's awesome.
It's great. And my grandmother was having panic attacks about, like, oh, my God, this is a terrible decision. She has this lovely, steady job at this factory, and she's going off to do something that people just don't do. No one teaches scuba diving in Hawaii. Like, of course they do.
Yeah.
Lots of people do. They have, but nobody from Kentucky does this,
No,
right?
not at all.
A year later, the factory closed. Everybody was out of work. My cousin not only got a job doing that, she got a job on a cruise, like a private cruise ship doing it, teaching this guy's guests, this super rich dude's guests, how to scuba dive because he liked scuba diving. So she was the on-boat, instructor and guide for their scuba diving trips, which is what a great fucking job.
That's amazing.
And
that's someone's dream job.
And she met her husband, who was the chef on the boat. They met on that boat, got married. They now have kids. They bought their own boat and started doing tours where he would cook and she would teach scuba diving on the boat that they owned. Like, it was great.
That's amazing. That's honestly something like, if you ask someone as a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to teach scuba on a private boat.
Yeah, right. That's like a dream gig, right?
Completely.
And they absolutely do it. And and I had conversations with my grandmother afterwards. I was like, after the factory closed, I went, see? And so flash forward to I'm in a play in Chicago, and my grandparents come up to see me in my first play in Chicago, my first professional play. And it was The Elephant Man, and I played the Elephant Man's owner, Ross, the part that Anthony Hopkins played in the movie.
Awesome.
And halfway through the play, there's an intermission, and my dad's talking to my grandparents, and my grandmother goes, when does Hal come on? Well, almost all my scenes were in the beginning. She didn't recognize me. And my dad went, oh, shit, he's good at this. Oh, no. His own grandmother didn't recognize him. And, yeah, exactly. And so, from that, like, I've learned to, like, respect people's dreams. As long as they're not lying to themselves about their capability. But then even that people, like the dude who made The Room, for fuck's sake, like on all merits.
They're making a movie about him making that movie.
That's right. Yeah.
100%.
Anakin Skywalker is starring in the movie.
Right.
The movie about that man's life. His project making, like, that's fucking crazy.
I used to manage music way back in the day, and always used to tell my artists, like, drive will get you further than talent.
Sure. Yeah. No question. I learned, I used to have this chip on my shoulder when I was first coming up because Keanu Reeves is like 5 years older than me, something like that. And so for my look and what I was doing, he was a good bellwether of the work I might be able to get. The Bill and Ted stuff. I was too young to be Bill and Ted, but I was close, right? And at a certain point, that starts to even out around Speed, where we're almost looking about the same age range. And I remember being pissed at one point, kind of jealous, like it's only because he's had this history that he's getting these roles. It's not. I didn't think very highly of him as an actor at the time, and all that stuff. And I was jealous, essentially. And then I went, okay, you're jealous. That's fine. What is he doing right? Just do that. Do whatever. Don't be jealous of him. Just go. What is he doing right? Insofar as finding the right team that every time they look at him, they see dollar signs in their eyes. They don't have to like his art or even believe in what he can do. They just have to know that they can sell him and make money off of him. I was like, okay, well, I'll look for agents that look at me the way his agents look at him. And 2 years later, I had Talk Soup.
That's absolutely awesome. And that is the best mentality to have.
Yeah.
You should never look down on someone else for them being successful. You should go,
how can I adapt to the parts that I'm okay with? If they're doing something unethical or something grotesque, then don't absorb that.
Right.
But I guarantee there's at least 2 traits that they have that you could absorb, stay within your ethical boundaries, and actually benefit from.
Yeah.
And that's been my kind of thing. I mean, it's why I'm in the DGA and why I'm, why I qualify for retirement in SAG now, because I've been in SAG so long. I've been in SAG since I was 16 years old.
That's awesome.
And, the reason is because each of these, never be afraid to be a white belt. Always know that if you're looking at something, you go like, all right, I want to do that, but I'm ashamed of not knowing anything about it. Then jump at it. Be a white belt. It's okay, Hey,
I did it when I got into the music industry. I literally knew nothing. I was working a day job I hated and went, what would I enjoy doing to make a living? Well, I enjoyed going to bars and seeing live music.
Right.
How do I do that for a living?
Yeah.
I manage artists.
Great. Yeah, absolutely.
I failed. I burned a lot of money, but it was a great learning experience.
That's right. Right. But again, you absolutely proved that you can be successful at doing it. It's just a matter of what else. What makes you successful and makes you stay there?
Yeah.
That's the next lesson. And then you figure that out. You go, I could actually manage bands when I'm in my 60s. Like Doc or any of those guys who run Aerosmith and all those guys. Like, there's a reason why those careers don't go away with time.
No, artists will always need management.
That's right. And so there's always a version of I needed to do this for 15 years to figure out how I could be better at what I originally started doing and go back to it or whatever. Or just decide I tried it for a while. That I hated. What I did like about it was these 2 things. So I'm going to open my own bar because that's what I liked about doing it, whatever.
Honestly, for me, I found I hated running the label end of things.
Sure.
Because you had to make the decision between the artists you're working with and what's best for the label.
Sure.
I liked actually managing the artists.
Sure.
And looking out for their best interests.
Right.
I didn't like the feeling of, I got to make a decision that's going to benefit my business over the people I'm closely working with.
Sure. And that job, by the way, should be left up to people who aren't that attached. That's what A&R people used to be fucking for.
Yeah.
The A&R people were that bridge. They could walk that line between the business side and the and the management side. And they do have a foot in each camp, and they were good at it. Like good A&R people were hard to find, like John Kolodner, people like that. They were hard to find because they could go, all right, I'm giving notes, but my notes are worthwhile both to the artist and the label.
Definitely.
If you watch the making of Pump, there's an extraordinary, story where when they're making the song "Janie's Got a Gun," and originally the line in "Janie's Got a Gun" was "He raped a little bitty baby."
Ooh.
And they were like, the label was like, we won't be able to play that on the radio.
On the radio, yeah.
And Aerosmith was like, yeah, you're right, but we don't know what that is. And I think it was John Kolodner, if I'm not mistaken, who suggested jacked. He jacked a little bitty baby, and it was like still a harsh word as opposed to, like the myriad of words that you could find to fill that gap between what the artist wants and what the label wants, and what could get on the radio and what still
what
make
we call
the
is
statement.
commercially viable.
That's right. What's commercially viable and still makes the statement, makes it sound harsh, and arguably, jacked is way harder sounding.
Yeah, definitely. But it's not a no word.
Raped is a news story. This is poetic.
Right.
And so A&R people, I think they've lost to some degree their standing in the world of labels in the way they used to, they used to exist as that bridge.
Well, the whole music industry is on its head.
Sure, because of theft.
Unfortunately.
Because fans are fucked. And fans, you're not a fan of a band unless you buy their records. Anybody who tells me they downloaded somebody or took somebody's record or whatever, you're not a fan, you're a thief. I have no tolerance whatsoever for that. I ran into this fucking dude in England who was walking around handing out flyers about how music should be free. He was like, music should be free, labels and all these businesses, these corporations that make records, they should just release the album. And I was like, do you make music? And he's, are you in a band? And he goes, no. And I went, okay, if you want music to be free, make music and release it for free.
Right.
Otherwise, go fuck yourself.
Completely. And the thing about it is, I know a lot of people are very upset about the label's share of record sales. But
it's too high, but that doesn't mean you cheat the producer, the engineer, the artist themselves out of whatever money because you're getting back at the fucking label.
I don't even think it's necessarily too high because that larger share that the label takes allows them to take risks.
That's right.
And
they get to invest it in other artists.
Right. Other artists that may not be as commercially viable.
That's right.
I mean, that's part of the problem with music these days. Part of the problem, my problem with the Hollywood system is there's not as many studios or labels that want to take risks on things because the money's not there anymore.
Right. Right. Well, and you look at taking a chance on a label, like the answer would be make sure you're, as a band, you and your management or you and your agent work out, and your lawyer work out a tiered compensation thing. So by the time you get to your 10th album, you're making 60 to 70% of the benefits from the record.
Definitely.
Because you've earned it. You've gone from the investment. The label now no longer has to invest that much money.
Right.
It's mostly PR instead of production.
Exactly.
You don't need to have hire a super producer to get you to learn how to write a good song because you proved yourself.
And they don't have to actually put that much money into advertising you anymore.
Right, because you have a fan base and you've cultivated over time and all that stuff. Right, exactly. Like there's no an artist like Tori Amos doesn't need to be given 80% of what she's doing to a record label because her fan base is so strong and her shows are so specific that she's filling these halls that it's done.
At this point, an artist like that probably doesn't even need a label at all.
That's right. That's right. And so if the label gets the benefit of getting a 20% take or a 10% take off of what you're doing, they have to give you a good incentive for doing that. And mostly it will be so they can draw other talent that would have that same audience to their stable because we have Tori Amos.
Exactly.
So if you want to be a female singer-songwriter and you want to know that people will trust our judgment, in our promotional materials when we're promoting her stuff, maybe also like this artist. Maybe you'd also like this artist. They'll trust us. That's the problem with movie studios to some degree, is that they don't center in on what kind of movies a Columbia movie or a Paramount movie is.
That's what I liked about Miramax in the 90s.
Sure.
Miramax made Miramax movies.
Yes. Microtarget. And Touchstone, same thing. touched. Everything was micro-marketed to some degree. Now everybody can, because of social media and the illusion, what I would call the illusion of social media, because I don't think it pans out, and I think it is largely bullshit, and I think most of what you take as social media advertising is traditional marketing in a disguise. It is the modern version of those ads where they would show two housewives talking about a cleaning solution.
Clorox works great.
Yeah, they'd go, Marge, your kitchen always looks lovely. It's this false conversation between friends that makes you have the same reaction as seeing two friends talk. Is the same as seeing it on an Instagram post that your friend, puts up because they're paid to put it up there, right?
Right. And instead they're just using really hot girls that are just famous for being really hot.
That's right. Because they'll draw eyeballs and selling the same shit, which, by the way, was the same in the 20s. And, and everybody's like, Matthew McConaughey doing car ads or whatever, or voiceovers of certain people. Morgan Freeman are like, did you ever listen to 40s radio? Did you ever listen to The Shadow and all that with Orson Welles doing ads for tires to sell the show? It's exactly the same.
Definitely. They're called soap operas because that's when they used to sell soap to housewives.
That's right. Yeah. And reality shows are now called docu-soaps because they're exactly the same fucking thing. Other than that, I have no opinion.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So, Hal, is there anything you're working on these days? What are the new projects?
I'm on tour and I'm working on a feature, but I'm not going to talk about the feature because it's early in the process and it's one of those things that could be sniped very easily. So
I fully appreciate that.
So I've learned to keep that stuff close to the chest. After I brought the Walking Dead graphic novels to my manager at Brillstein Gray years ago, 2 years before that contract happened, and they were like, I don't see it. Like I now don't. Yeah.
Don't blame you at all. Yeah. Don't blame you.
I was so loud in that office, and then a manager 4 offices down was in charge of that deal. So I like.
And there's nothing you can do about that.
Nope.
It's miserable.
Nothing except pat myself on the back for having good taste, which is ultimately, that's a good sign. It's like when your jokes get stolen. I've had umpteen jokes stolen over the years that have been used on television and other stuff. And you go after you can be pissed for so long, or you can just go, obviously my jokes work on a mass scale. And the difference between they can't steal all my jokes and I can keep writing jokes. I will always have more because that's my creativity. So, yeah, that's so. But anyways, and I'm on tour. I'm in Hagerstown, Maryland in a couple weeks doing stand-up a week from Saturday, the 20th. And then, and then Philadelphia. And then, I'm constantly on the road mixed in with stuff too. Yeah.
So are you more enjoying the road life, being a road comic, than you staying in town doing a sitcom? Or
I there is no version of stand-up where it all happens in one town. And I'm going to be a stand-up my entire life. So it's a matter of strategically doing it. So when I'm on a series, for example, I can't really do full weekends. So I can only do one-night theater shows. So when I'm not filming, I tend to do more clubs so I can write, because you really need to do the shows back to back to go, okay, I'm going to try this in the next show tonight and rewire the entire bit. And then you can get it structurally over the course of a weekend. I can write 20 minutes of new material. So if I choose to, and craft that into what my next hour is.
In a club audience, not be as worried about bombing.
I don't bomb anyways. I'm never going to bomb. That's ridiculous. That doesn't happen. It just new people bomb. People who've been doing it for years don't bomb. Like you always have something. The rule is always have 3 hours of material, so that when you're doing an hour on stage, if you have 3 times as much material, you're never going to run out or run into a hole. Most people only bomb because they burn through their material and they're not quick on their feet.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't buy it. At a certain point when you're a stand-up after you've been doing it long enough, bombing is like being a plumber under someone's sink and not understanding where the leak is coming from. Like, of course you fucking know, And if it's if you broke the pipes, then call it and figure it out.
Right. Adapt to your situation and roll with the punches.
The only people who bomb these days are people who take on topics they are not comedically capable of dealing with, meaning that they deal with something extraordinary like race or sexual assault or like big topics.
Politics in the wrong market.
Right. Well, I do I do redneck and Trump jokes I just did them in Huntsville, Alabama. It's not about where you are. It's the structure that holds the joke up. The heavier the rock, the stronger the foundation you need to hold it up. And if the topic is heavy, you got to have a really good comedic scaffolding to keep it airborne, to keep it up. If you don't, it will collapse. Can't have 6 shitty jokes holding up a giant boulder of a topic. It's not enough. It just isn't.
It'll just fall on you.
That's what most people who bomb are doing. The jokes aren't strong enough for the topic.
Well, that is...
Other than that, I have no opinion.
None at all.
Right. So cool.
Awesome. Well, Hal, thank you for doing the
Thanks
show.
for having me. Absolutely. And to all those who imbibe, enjoy your poison of choice, and I hope it brings you great joy and you get home safely. I have no judgment about drinking whatsoever on my own personal level. I mean this honestly. I'm for it. I think it's a sign of a strong society when people can tie one on and get home safely, and so I hope that for our society at all times.
My personal opinion is, I don't care what you do to your own body as long as you don't harm anyone else.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. Completely true. So peace.
For our audience that may be unaware, how can they find you on social media?
At Hal Sparks on Twitter. It's really me. And then the Hal Sparks Fang page on Facebook. And then HalSparks.tv is my YouTube page. And I have a Saturdays, I do a political talk show called the Hal Sparks Radio Program Mega Worldwide on WCPT in Chicago. It's a terrestrial radio show, old school call-in politics radio show. But I do that every Saturday, and
awesome.
we live stream it on YouTube. So I have a chat room and all that stuff. People can
very cool.
Yeah. So like and subscribe, as they say.
Definitely check out Hal. Check out Hal when it comes to your town.
Yes.
It'll be
or don't if you're not funny, or you have a real like a shit sense of humor, or you're not very bright, or you can't figure out Google. Don't. It's okay. Stay home. It's fine. You're allowed. Yeah.
Well, Hal, thanks again.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Finally, I got someone to drink with me.
How could you? What?
Yeah,
You haven't had anybody to drink with you?
Not today.
Ugh. Oh, well, you should. I've been here since Friday.
Oh, well, and I fucked up. This is my bad.
Actually, I did my podcast on Friday night, and I listened to it, and I noticed that I got a little drunk towards the end because I had somebody bringing me double Grey Gooses all night.
Oh, if you want vodka, I got Tito's in the bag too.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll sip a little bourbon. I'm more of a single malt Scotch guy, but I'll sip a little bourbon.
Well, let's toast to this.
So Lou, thank you for pulling me on. We've never met.
No, we haven't.
My name is Murray Valeriano, which I don't even think you knew.
You told me. And,
Okay. I just wanted to give you the out on the introduction.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Well, either way, my audience needs to know. So
I have to admit, I've admired. I'm hijacking your show now. I have enjoyed your metal T-shirts.
Why, thank you.
I'm not a metal guy. I am a big music fan, music nerd, but I appreciate the metal, but I never got into it.
So what is your genre of music?
Oh, boy. Well, I like to think I like everything after I just said I don't like metal. But having said that, I loved Judas Priest growing up.
Awesome.
And Iron Maiden.
Awesome.
Well, for the metal side. I saw your Exodus shirt earlier, which
Yes.
I was very impressed with. Machine Head right now.
I was wearing a Laughable shirt on Friday. I had to represent Laughable.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay. All right. Absolutely. I'm trying to think. There's a band out of Brooklyn.
Anthrax?
No, recent.
Recent. Okay.
The Parlor Mob.
Not familiar.
I wish I should have Googled that. They're really good. They're a really good metal band.
Do you know
I
what
like it.
style of metal do you know?
Kind of. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, my metal is limited, so I don't know the subgenres outside death metal, black metal, and then after that, I don't know. And then
Those are the ones everyone knows.
And then 80s metal, which is what I'm familiar with.
Well, mostly thrash at that point.
Oh, thrash. Yeah. So the Parlor Mob, I don't know how I would put them in. I don't know if they're new metal. I don't know. I did love that metal documentary on VH1 that guy did.
Which one? The
I don't. There's like 9 parts, and they go into
okay.
the different subgenres, and then the weird Sweden metal thing that happens all the time. Which,
Oh yeah, the crazy black metal where they're burning down churches. And
yeah, absolutely. And the band that like killed their lead
Mayhem.
singer, Mayhem.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
ate his brain.
yeah, ate his brain, then put like his finger bones in a necklace or something like
Yep.
that. Now that I don't know how you beat that in metal.
And he's out of prison now.
Oh, really? Reunion tour
Maybe
of the surviving members that he didn't kill.
it very well may happen.
I do like to. I also co-host. I have the Road Stories podcast, which is comedians telling stories. But I also co-host Rock Solid, which is a music and comedy podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anyone? Who would you say is your favorite artist that you've had on there recently?
On which one?
With the musicians.
Well, it's funny since I'm the it's not officially mine. Pat Francis hosts it.
Okay.
So I and the joke is I never get to be on when the artist when we have artists on. So, but he's kind of an '80s. His style of music is Journey and all that stuff. So he's had a lot of those.
The arena rock.
Yeah, he's definitely an arena rock guy. So he's had a lot of those guys. But we had the one I did get to host with was one of my favorite drummers who I am blanking on his name right now. They put me on the spot. Aaron, is it Aaron? No. Oh shit, I forget. I'm gonna have to Google
happens.
it right now. I know. And plus, I've been
We'll
here
just pour
all
you some more
weekend.
bourbon.
Pour
It'll
some
come
more
right to
bourbon.
you.
Pour some more bourbon. I gotta Google his name. This is ridiculous. I'm forgetting blanking his name. But what we do is we take a topic, and we find the songs that follow that topic.
That's awesome.
So, and we do. It's rock solid, but I like to bring in hip hop and metal and whatever I can bring in, as opposed to just the arena rock that Pat brings in. No, I say just, but he's
Yeah, that he
So-
prefers.
yeah that he prefers. But we've had guests like, and it's all in his wheelhouse, like Melissa Etheridge and some throwback to the '80s, like Wang Chung and.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, the Wang Chung was on there. They played a couple songs, which is great. He had Weird Al at the San Francisco Sketch Fest.
That's fucking amazing.
He had Sammy Hagar.
Very cool.
So you get some decent. Kenny Aronoff, the drummer. Sorry.
No problem.
All right. Sorry. He's just a huge session drummer. He's most notably for playing with John Cougar Mellencamp.
Oh, very cool.
But he's an amazing drummer.
Very cool. That is fucking awesome. I gotta check out that show.
He should. I highly recommend. I was a fan of that show before I got asked to co-host it, so I highly recommend it.
For me, musicians are some of my favorite guests to have on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they always have great stories from their time on the road.
Sure.
We just had Dino from Fear Factory on.
Oh, awesome.
A couple weeks ago, and Dino told a bunch of stories that he made sure to preference with. This happened before I was married.
Oh. That's a lot of my stories also. Being a comedian on the road. This before I was married and had a child. Preface it. It's funny because I do the road stories and I do have musicians on. Like I had Greg from Circle Jerks and Bad Religion on.
Awesome.
And so it's always funny because hear comedians complain about the road when they're out 4 days at a time, and they're like, Greg's like, I was in a van for 8 months. Like,
right.
You can't compare road stories to me, man. And I had a drug addiction.
Right, especially when those bands are starting out and it's 6 dudes in a bus.
Oh,
or in a
absolutely,
van.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Just going all over America or Europe or wherever.
showering in truck stops.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Comics generally get hotel rooms, right?
Yeah. Well, we showered in truck stops too. But we generally get the sketchy hotel rooms that there's still like maybe a chalk line of a murder in there.
In a sketchy hotel room was like the weirdest thing you've ever come across.
In a hotel room?
Yeah.
Well, this wasn't on the road. This was in town here, and I was working on a TV pilot with Howie Mandel, and I don't know if you know about Howie Mandel.
His germophobia?
Absolutely, man. And he came into this hotel. It was on Sunset Boulevard, and it was one of those.
It's probably right by my apartment.
Okay, then you'd probably. And he came in, and he was just like, "I'm going to trust that you guys are getting what we need for this," and turned around and walked out.
I don't know how he would survive if he wasn't famous. Like, how do you make it through the world being that germophobic?
I don't know. And he is the original fist bump guy.
Yeah.
Out of complete neurosis, not out of being cool. He never blew it up or anything after he was just
like
literally that guy who doesn't want to. And I've always been that way.
I wonder if he still uses condoms with his wife.
I wouldn't be surprised.
No bodily fluids. No.
Right, after he steamed them down. He pulled them out of the package and I'm just going to clean this off, honey, and then we'll get to it. Don't lose the mood. We have not similar friends. We have mutual friends.
Yeah, we have
You
some
and I.
mutual friends.
We just talked about it.
Yeah, Sam Tripoli.
A good friend of mine.
Love Sam.
He's great. Hosted the AVNs.
Yeah, he last year he did a show with Brett Rossi at the LA Comedy Club at the Stratosphere during AVN.
Okay, now who's Brett Rossi?
She is Charlie Sheen's ex-girlfriend and a porn star.
Okay.
Yeah, she made headlines for when the whole Tiger Blood issue
Sure, absolutely.
broke,
Okay, I know who you're
that
talking
she
about.
didn't know about it.
Okay.
And she was engaged to him.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I'm a fan of porn. I just don't know the actors and actresses. I don't get into it that deep.
Most people don't.
I know. I sound like, oh, I don't know. I do. I'm completely filthy and dirty. There's a horrible side to me that I don't like to let people know. So yes, but I just don't know. I
Well,
mean, I can name a
I'm
few.
going to pull up a picture of my co-host then and see if you've seen her naked or not.
Oh, okay. I like how this podcast is going already. Even if I haven't seen her naked, I'm about to see her naked.
Oh, no, I don't have any nudes of her.
Oh, well, then I don't like the way this podcast is going at all.
Sorry. Okay, I'll get them. I'll get them. I promise.
And what was her name?
Annie Cruz.
Annie Cruz?
Yep. She's been on the industry for a
What's
couple
her
years.
genre?
Everything.
Oh, okay. So she's not like MILF or she's not, hey, how you doing?
No, I wouldn't say that.
It's a fan of mine as I'm talking about porn, by the way. Okay.
Awesome. She'd be the one on my left
All right.
in the Punisher t-shirt.
May I hold this?
Of course.
Of course, Punisher t-shirt. I have to blow it up because I'm going blind. Annie Cruz? Oh, that's the right. Sorry.
No, that would be her. That was her in the Punisher. It was my left.
Wait. Oh, okay. This one or the other one?
The other one. I know I'm surrounded by women. You can't
Right.
tell.
Oh, I don't know. She's in. Can I see her vagina? See if I recognize
Yeah,
that.
let's do it.
No, I'm just kidding.
Another comedian, the first time he met her, was like, "This is the first time I've ever seen you where you weren't squirting." Oh, he said that right to her face.
Oh, so well, we found her genre when I asked.
But she does it all. That's like,
Right.
I didn't want to pigeonhole her. And
Sure.
just
No.
squirt.
Pigeonhole, I think, is another genre of porn, isn't it?
It might just be.
Now, here's the funny thing, which I don't know if you guys talked about this. A few porn stars have moved over into doing stand-up. Have you talked about that?
Yeah, we
Okay.
actually just had Sylvia Sage on. She does mics around town now.
Okay.
Missy Martinez just performed at the Ice House on Friday.
Maybe that's why I didn't get a spot there on Friday. I got bumped for Misty Martinez.
Talk to Red Band on that one.
Who's now? I am a fan. The one girl I am a fan of started doing stand up, and her name is Anna.
Annika Albright?
Who is it?
Annika Albright?
No, it's like Analia and Anila. Ah, I told you I don't know the names, but it was one of those where I watched her stuff, and my wife is on the road a lot because she works in movies, so this is when I do my porn thing. And then all of a sudden, she showed up on Jim Norton's show doing stand up. I was like, oh my god,
Wow. Let's see. Well, here's her Wikipedia page.
who's?
My co-host.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think I know her.
Let me see if I can find her vagina for you. She doesn't mind.
I know. I don't need to. I'm also texting with my wife right now as you're offering me to look at her vagina, so I'm feeling really weird. Yeah, that's all right.
It's a good weird,
She
right?
doesn't listen to my podcast, so I doubt she'll listen to yours.
Ouch.
I know that kind
She
of
might
came
be a
out
fan.
mean. That kind of came out. No, and she doesn't like metal either. So
Does she like drinking?
she used to before we had a kid. Oh man,
I thought that's what happens after the kid is you start drinking.
that's what the dads do.
Oh.
Hungover. I'm going to be hungover dad at kindergarten tomorrow. And I got to find this girl. I'm sorry, this is terrible podcasting.
okay.
As we
Clean it up in post,
Google
I promise.
as we Google porn stars. Analia Flores? No, that's not her.
I'm trying to think who else is doing comedy these days. Because,
I don't know why I'm whispering that.
yeah. So,
She has huge knockers.
you sure it's not Missy?
It's not. No, it's not Missy.
I'm trying to think who else would be doing comedy.
She's out of New. I think she's doing it out of
she's
New
out
York.
of New York. Oh, okay.
I think she's out of New York because she's on Jim Norton's show. This is going to kill me. You know what I'm going to remember when I stumble onto her on thesweetshow.com. That's my porn site I go to.
Are you paying for your porn?
No.
It's horrible.
Oh, really?
It's horrible.
You're one of those?
Yeah, I believe supporting my friend's IP.
No, okay. And I didn't mean you're one of those as in a judgmental thing. I'd like to think I paid for porn when my dad used to beat me when he found a Playboy. So that's how I like to think I paid for my porn. Because I grew up in a Christian household. My dad was a preacher. So he would beat me up.
But it was his Playboy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I am going to be your friend from now on. That was fantastic.
Playboy's not pornography. Come on.
It was in the 80s in a Southern Baptist Christian household.
He read it for the articles.
Right. Which makes me, now that Hef has passed, because, all right, do you know the artist Rubin, who painted the really heavy set women? I probably remember Renaissance, right?
Like the pinup style, right?
No, this is like Renaissance
Oh,
era.
okay. I'm sorry. I'm thinking
No,
of
that's
somebody
right. Why is he lauded as a great artist, but Hef is a pornographer when he's just showing the same woman? You know what I mean? Maybe in 100 years, Hefner will be a lauded artist.
One could hope.
Yeah.
One could hope. And the thing about it is, now that Hef died, a lot of women have come out and decried a lot of things that he did, in treating his girlfriends.
Sure.
I guess he essentially managed them. But if they're in a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship, they've signed up for this.
Right.
I don't see what the problem is. If they wanted out, they could have left.
Sure.
And they did leave eventually.
Yeah. Most of them.
The girls next door, like all three of them.
They all left?
They all left.
Okay.
But the things Hef did through the course of his career for civil rights, he did so much good. He might have done a little bad in some people's eyes, but the amount of good, the fact that
he was bringing Nipsey Russell on his TV show,
or Miles Davis.
And the black people who could not get work, he brought on.
I was just watching a documentary, and Ella Fitzgerald's like, the Playboy Club was the first club I ever played where I didn't have to walk through the kitchen.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
And those were crazy times.
Sure.
They published Malcolm X when he said, "Don't trust the white devil." His interview is very inflammatory.
Sure.
They published Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
Hef should be lauded just for those achievements.
Absolutely. Listen, we've all done questionable stuff.
Constantly, and I record it.
Hopefully, we all do good also to counteract that questionable stuff. Hopefully. All right.
I'm not dead yet.
Okay. All right. Well,
Down the road,
like I said, I just met you. I didn't realize how horrible you were.
Not that horrible.
All right.
I don't have a criminal record.
Well, see.
So
I do. And I'm the married guy with the kid and the Christian upbringing.
Can you tell the audience what for?
No.
Okay.
But it's public record. You can look it up. Let's just say a lot of things can be considered a weapon. No.
Oh, no. Do I have to get ready to duck and dodge? Say the wrong thing?
Right. I haven't always been the nice guy you see before you. Let's just put it that way.
Hey, these things happen. These things happen. I'm sure it probably happened on the road somewhere.
So who's your favorite metal band? As I hijack your show again.
Hey, it's okay. This is an organic conversation. It's
okay.
Not
that's how I run my show. It's very organic.
This isn't an interview. I don't have a list of questions.
Oh, yeah, me neither when I do my show also. So.
Well, the namesake, I'm Matt Slayer, so obviously the namesake Slayer.
Sure, absolutely.
But.
And somebody from Slayer died last year?
Hanneman died in 2014.
Oh, has it been that long?
Yeah.
Okay.
He died. I should know this. I got tattooed the day he died.
Okay.
I went and got a Slayer tattoo on my calf the day he died.
Did you happen to get the date tattooed?
I did not.
We could settle this conversation real quick. Oh,
No.
Here, let me look at my knee.
No, I'm going to get a Slayer tattoo on the day Hanneman died. I was in Dallas. I actually got it at Elm Street Tattoo, which is the famous Dallas tattoo shop where the guys from Pantera got a lot of their work done. So
Okay.
they almost didn't tattoo me. I walked in an hour and a half before they closed. And they're like, our black and gray girl is going to see Iron Man 2. Can you come back tomorrow? I'm like, no, Hanneman died today.
Right.
And they circle up, and I'm like, they're going to fuck me on the price right now.
Sure, of course.
They're huddle. They're like, $125. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Done.
Oh, is that cheap for a tattoo?
Yeah.
Having not been tattooed myself, and
Yeah, that is for a very reputable shop.
Okay.
For a walk-in, that is a very reasonable
okay,
price.
all right.
Like, to give you an example, this tattoo on the inside of my bicep was $150.
Okay.
And there's no work on that versus, as I'm getting naked for you.
No, that's we talked porn. Let's go. That was $125.
That was $125.
Oh my God. I don't know anything about tattoos, and I would charge you much more. That's so much more intricate than
Yeah,
the one that
exactly.
costs $150 on your bicep.
But that was also a rip-off shop in Chicago.
All right, but still, what is the bicep tattoo?
It says, luck favors the backbone, not the wishbone.
God damn it.
So my left arm is actually all quotes.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's luck favors the backbone, not the wishbone. History is written by the victors. And paranoia is just reality on a finer scale.
No wonder you're friends with AAA. That just sounds so like him.
The third one's actually a quote from a movie. So,
Oh, what's the movie?
Strange Days?
Stranger Days?
Strange Days. yeah.
Strange Days? I don't think I ever saw it.
Written by James Cameron, directed by Catherine Bigelow, stars Ralph Fiennes, Tom Sizemore, Juliette Lewis.
I'm sorry, stars who?
Tom Sizemore, Ralph Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes. Yeah.
That's all I wanted to
Sorry.
know. I never saw Strange Days.
It's
And James Cameron?
written by Cameron, directed by Catherine Bigelow, who did...
Hurt Locker.
Right.
Won the Oscar and was able to flip off Cameron in the audience.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is when they were still married, so that's why he wrote it.
Okay.
And it takes place in New Year's Eve, 1999,
Okay.
when it was written in like the mid-90s, so their idea of
Sure.
99 LA is kind of accurate. But Ray Fiennes plays a drug dealer who sells other people's memories.
Oh, interesting. Is it quality? Should I?
It's a decent...
It's enough to get tattooed on your arm. So yes.
I love the line.
Okay.
I love... There's definitely some 90s cheesiness to it.
Sure, absolutely.
But the rest of the film is still very solid.
Okay.
It's kind of a thriller.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a thriller.
Okay.
And Rafe plays a guy who sells... He's a former cop who sells clips of other people's memories. That
Okay.
Like, he'll pay people to record them
Oh,
having sex,
interesting.
and then they sell them like drugs.
Okay.
His best friend is another former cop who's a PI. He's obsessing about Juliette Lewis's character who left him for a music executive. And it all is around a murder that happens.
Okay. I know an interesting fact about Juliette Lewis.
I'm definitely all ears.
Do you know who her dad was?
No.
Did you ever see the Clint Eastwood movies, Any Which Way You Can or Any Which Way But Loose,
Yes.
where he played the Street Fighter?
Yeah.
His buddy, I forget his name, is Juliette Lewis's father.
Oh, shit. I didn't know she was a dynasty.
Yeah, she's a dynasty.
Good on her.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The only Strange Days movies I saw was the documentary on the Doors.
Nice. Very nice. So,
Any good metal documentaries I should watch? Do you consider Rush a metal band?
hell no. Hell no.
I love it.
Hell no.
Absolutely.
Who in their right mind would... Really?
There are people who do that.
Who? Where?
Nobody we want to talk to.
I mean, have they been hit in the head? Are they on copious amounts of drugs? Seriously, what's wrong with these people?
I know. There are people who consider it a metal. I've heard them on metal radio shows. I'm like, they're not metal.
I mean, maybe Ozzy's Boneyard on Sirius. Like, that's kind of like the hard rock station.
Right.
I wouldn't even consider Rush hard rock.
No, I go they're prog rock, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100% prog rock.
Absolutely.
Metal. That's almost as bad as Metallica losing the goddamn Grammy.
To Ian Anderson and Jethro Tull.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
I was at a loss for Jethro Tull. I was like,
That's
it's
okay.
on the tip of my goddamn
I had to go through Ian Anderson to get to Jethro Tull, so I'm with you. And I can't even think of the girl who porn star, the only one I know that I like.
Yeah.
And I can't even think of her
How
name.
many loads you've dropped to her? You can't remember her goddamn name.
Seriously.
That's disrespectful.
I know. I apologize, and I will send her an email.
Just have her open for you if she's doing comedy. I'm
I
sure
don't
the
know
wife
if
would love that.
I don't. Yeah, my wife would love that, and I don't know if I want to do stand up with a boner. To be honest with you,
Your audience would get a new experience. It'd be a different show every night.
absolutely. Now, did you see? I apologize, and we've just met, and we haven't listened to each other's shows, so I apologize if we're going over topics that you've discussed.
Of course.
Where are you on the Anvil documentary?
I have not watched it, and it's queued to be watched.
You have not watched it?
I have not watched it.
Okay, that's fine. Listen. I'm not. I judge not. So.
Oh, it's okay to judge a little.
All right.
It's okay.
All right.
I won't lose any sleep over it. I
Okay.
promise.
All right.
Well, maybe a little sleep.
Have you seen the Quiet Riot documentary?
That I have.
Okay, where are you on Quiet Riot?
I love Quiet Riot.
Okay, awesome. Well, I would figure that given your attire and the metal you've repped, that you might be anti-Quiet Riot for launching the hair metal scene.
That's the thing. Like, I'm a big metalhead, but I also have super eclectic taste in music.
Okay, great.
Like,
so do I. As I say, I don't like metal, and then talked about it for 20 minutes.
no, I enjoy hair metal. Like, if you went through my phone right now, you'll find Lana Del Rey. You'll find Chicago house music. You'll find all sorts of stuff. One of my favorite nights when I used to live in Chicago was this night called Dusty Grooves at a bar I used to go to called Cobra Lounge.
Uh-huh.
And every Thursday night was rockabilly, doo-wop, and soul.
Oh, wow.
And I would religiously be there.
Oh, great.
It also doesn't hurt that there'd be a bunch of really cute girls there dancing.
Absolutely. I love that rockabilly look on the modern rockabilly look on the ladies. Excellent.
Magnifique.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of the best metal doc I've seen, because I'll watch any music documentary. I don't care. But I'm trying to think of the best metal doc. I don't know.
What's your best music doc?
Now here's a debate that's been going around for a long time that I like to think I started. Is it a music doc or is it a concert? There's a difference between a concert film and a rock doc.
A rock doc shows more behind the scenes.
Yes.
Limited stage time. Like maybe them walking onto stage, not actual performances.
Absolutely. Now the only kind of asterisk to that would probably be The Last Waltz from the band. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
I am not.
All right, the band was they backed Bob Dylan for a very long time, and then they became their own band, and they just called themselves the band because they were always with Bob Dylan, and they threw this great final concert in like 72 or something like that. Actually, Cheryl from Movies Made Me podcast would probably know all this. But and then they threw this great documentary and last concert thing. So that's kind of like the meeting ground of a rock doc versus concert film. And Scorsese directed it.
Well, that's awesome.
And they had everybody: Neil Young, Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, Van Morrison. It's fantastic. You should check it out.
I will.
Sorry? The Last Waltz, yes.
The Last Waltz. I will definitely check that out. Is it on Netflix?
Probably. So there's a difference between a rock doc and a concert film.
Definitely.
So
I've seen many concert films, but it's just like, okay, I'm watching a band play. That's
yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
But
now, rock docs, I love the aforementioned Rush's. I forget what it's. What's it called? Beyond the Gilded Stage or something like that. I like that one. Foo Fighters had a great one called Back and Forth, a very small one. It wasn't like even...
I didn't even hear about that one.
Yeah.
And Dave Grohl just did his whole like rock doc thing on HBO was that last year or 2 years ago?
The 8...
Yeah, the 8
over the album. Yeah, this is actually before that.
Sonic Highway.
Other album. And it kind of chronicles it chronicles from where Kurt Cobain died. No, it actually goes back to when he was with Scream.
Oh, wow.
So
back in D.C.?
Yeah. So it goes from when he was with Scream all the way up to the album before that. That's a really good one.
Speaking of Dave Grohl, just sidetrack.
Sure.
Are you aware of Probot?
Probot? No, I am not.
So it's Dave Grohl's side project where he took all his favorite metal vocalists
Okay.
and made an album with each one of them doing a different track.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When did that come out?
Early 2000s.
No, but I'm going to get that. I'm going to look for that when I get home tonight.
He arranged and wrote most of the music, played most of the instruments in the studio. But he got Lemmy from Motorhead, Max Cavalera from Sepultura.
Sure.
Tom G. Warrior from Celtic Frost. Like, it was all his favorite metal vocalists. And then wrote a track for them and performed it with them.
Oh, it's Probot?
Probot.
I'm texting myself this. I apologize right now
No
because I want
problem.
to check this out.
It's a phenomenal album.
Oh, that is great. I'm so looking forward to that, man. I tell you what, who doesn't like Dave Grohl? You know what? Honestly. And I never listened to the Foo Fighters, but I've seen them live 4 times, and they are fantastic.
Really?
Yeah. They are. I saw them. I was a big Police fan, but they were a little ahead of my time, so I never got to see the Police. So when they did that reunion tour for money, I paid top dollar, got like 4th row at Dodger
awesome.
Stadium, and the Foo Fighters opened. and it was, let's just say it was the only time the Foo Fighters opened for him on that tour.
Oh,
Because the Foo Fighters blew the roof off of Dodger Stadium, which is an open-air stadium.
so what is your thoughts on small shows versus big shows like that? What's your preference?
I obviously prefer a small show. It also depends on the band. Now, you being a metalhead, I'm about to say something which might make you just delete this whole conversation. My favorite band is U2. Yeah, I know. All right, I'll show myself out.
Apple gave me AIDS. Apple gave me AIDS over your fucking band. I'm calling them your fucking band now.
Oh, you can call my fucking band.
Fucking phone AIDS.
All right, that's fine. But here's
I'm still hurt about that phone AIDS.
Here's my problem with that. Like, I think Kanye West is the biggest douchebag on the face of the planet. I would never buy anything from him. But if he gave me a free music in my iTunes, I'd listen to it. And if I didn't like it, I'd delete it.
Yeah, they wouldn't let you delete it at first. You had to download an app to delete it.
Yeah, there is that part.
Like, out of protest, I'm like, nope, not fucking listening. No, I like the Joshua Tree. Come on.
Okay, sure.
I like old YouTube.
Sure.
But, what was it? Zoo or...
Zoo TV?
Yeah, Zoo TV, like, that era on, it's just never got into it.
Really? That's where you dropped off?
Yeah.
That's so funny because that's where I really picked up.
Okay.
And I know, listen, I've had this conversation before.
With me? Was I drunk?
Just other people.
I blacked out in conversations before. I didn't realize it was that bad.
No, I know I'm
glad we have the mic this time.
I know I'm in the minority in that. But that's really the only band I could think of that I still do see in a huge area. Like, I like the Kings of Leon a lot. But I'm not going to go to the fucking Forum and see them. I'd see them at the Wiltern.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go to the Kings of Leon. But also Kings of Leon, I don't know if you're listening, you don't need a documentary. They had a documentary out a few years ago. Didn't need it. You're not documentary level yet, buddy.
Do you miss Behind the Music?
I do. I really like that show a lot.
I miss. Why did they cancel that? How could that show not be popular?
Well, I don't know. Well, if you think about what made Behind the Music great was all the drugs and infighting and sex between the bands and crimes. And then as we gotten into our PC culture, the drugs and sex and crimes have gotten away. So nobody really wants to hear about the Jonas Brothers. You know what I mean?
Come on. The Jonas Brothers are definitely having some scandalous sex.
Well, maybe of the last few years, but nobody wants to hear about, hey, we got together, started a band, and everything went great. Roll credits.
We're
you want to hear?
Woo!
Yeah, you want to hear, and then,
Yeah.
dun, dun, dun. Cliffhanger commercial, come back, and then everything goes to hell.
Fucked them out of money.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So that's why maybe that they're just running out of great stories.
What is the state of rock and roll? Now we got to have some more alcohol.
Absolutely. No. Listen, I am all about. Why wouldn't you? If you're a rock star, it's the only time when drugs are acceptable. Like, why wouldn't you do that?
I don't know.
I have a whole track on my album about that. My last album, and unfortunately, I cite Scott Weiland, who unfortunately died a year after that. So it's kind of weird when you come onto that track.
Yeah, I can imagine. Sure, for his friends and family, that's a little sore spot.
Right. But I had no idea. I probably should have saw it coming, but I had no idea.
I'm sure everyone kind of saw it coming.
Yeah, you can win. Yeah. I mean, there's a price to pay for being the drug addict rock star.
Not everyone could be Keith Richards or Lemmy.
Right. That's what I say about heroin. You can do heroin, but let's just factor in the fact we only got one exile on Main Street out of it. Everybody else died a horrible death. So maybe not. Maybe just balance the numbers before you start doing heroin.
And get a really reliable dealer who brings you quality stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, during Exile, man, there was a good documentary on them recording Exile on Main Street, and the amount of heroin they did and was getting shipped to that house in England was unfathomable.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that any of those guys are still alive.
They are an anomaly. Listen.
Almost all the Beatles are dead. Most of the Rolling Stones alive.
Yeah. That is an anomaly. Half the Beatles are dead, yes. Oh,
no,
here's
three out
something.
of four. It's just Ringo left. Oh, no, Paul's there, too, I guess.
Yeah.
Unless you believe the conspiracy.
Yeah, absolutely. 69 if right on the car on the
right.
Yeah, I think Tripoli covered that on his
Tinfoil hat. Yeah.
I'm a big Beatles fan also, by the way. So I don't know if you want to actually delete this twice.
It's okay. It's okay. I allow for other people's tastes.
Sure. I was going to say something about the Rolling Stones and the Beatles thing there. I blanked on it. I forget what it was. Exile on Main Street, heroin. I don't know.
A lot of heroin being shipped to the Stones.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. A lot of heroin shipped to the Stones. God, who? Maybe, I read an article a long time ago about what music would be like in the future in 20 years from now, and the last one was like, we'd realized Keith Richards has been dead for 20 years. We just never knew it.
I think the same joke was made about Lemmy until he actually died.
Right. I used to see Lemmy up on when I'd go to the Rainbow when I first moved to town.
Yeah,
which I
just be at this video poker.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I went in the first time, because I didn't really know, I was like, oh my God, that's Lemmy. By the way, again, did I mention I don't like metal, but I love Motorhead?
Lemmy said multiple times, Motorhead is not a metal band. They play rock and roll.
Yeah, they're very rockabilly influenced, absolutely. But I remember the first time I went in there.
Punk influence too?
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, there's a track on Pearl Jam's last album, which is such a ripoff of Motorhead. I think it's called Mind Your Manners. It is like, I'm like, oh, did Lemmy write this right before he died? It was such a ripoff of a Motorhead tune.
Ooh. I don't think that's a good look for them.
No, I don't think so. Where are you on Pearl Jam? All right, let's go.
I owned Vitalogy back in the day.
Okay.
I owned 10.
Sure.
But beyond that, no.
Yeah, me too. We're on the whole Seattle from that blast.
Alice in Chains.
Me too.
Alice in Chains.
Absolutely, 100%.
Favorite Alice in Chains album? EPs count. EPs have
It's Sap is probably my favorite.
Jar Flies for me.
Okay. Oh wait. Maybe it's Jar Flies.
Rotten Apple, No Excuses.
Yes, it's Jar Flies. I apologize. Yes, it is.
Like, Jar Flies is on my desert island.
Mm-hmm. He had such an amazing voice, and with Jerry Cantrell's guitar playing, it's amazing.
Rotten Apple is one of my favorite tracks, and it's just so goddamn haunting.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't even know how that song didn't get radio play. I know they pushed No Excuses, and they pushed I Stay Away.
Right.
But Rotten Apple is honestly my track on that album.
Oh,
the whole thing's completely solid.
The whole thing is great. And again, hey, hello, heroin. That poor guy.
Dead for 2 weeks before they found him?
And they said he weighed 140. I weigh 180. And we're about the same size. And that's a skeleton, man.
Yeah.
So horrible. What a horrible death.
That's like a UFC fighter at the weight cut.
Yeah.
They get to rehydrate after
Yeah,
that.
sure. They get to live and eat. But apparently he used to just go and sit in the back of the bar around the corner from his house and just nurse one drink, and everybody, I don't know. It's just a crazy death.
It's a crazy death, and when you get to that level of fame, it's got to be isolating.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, and then there's that also, you can't tell an addict what to do, I guess.
Definitely not. But would they have made that beautiful music if he wasn't an addict?
That's the other thing. You know, are you familiar? You must be, but you're familiar with the comedian Bill Hicks?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely, my favorite.
Of course.
Once I found Bill Hicks, and I got into the game after he died, I was like, oh, well, we all just tell jokes. He's a comedian. You know, and he's had that great bit about drugs, and if you don't like drugs, burn your record collection.
It's true.
It is.
100% true.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's better to burn out than fade away in some cases.
Absolutely. You know, Johnny Rotten had a short-lived VH1 TV show. Do you know that?
I vaguely remember it.
Okay. And he asked Neil Young to come on, and he wouldn't come on. And Johnny Rotten was like, you wrote a fucking lyrics about me, and you won't come on my show. I was in Tijuana at a Pill concert, Public Image Limited. I don't know why I just talked down to you on that. For a video shoot I forget the song, maybe it was Closer or something like that. And I went down with the crew just to hang out because I knew the director. And Johnny, and I was there when the director went up to meet Johnny Rotten and said, hey, Johnny, I'm director. I'm going to direct your video tonight. And he goes, so what? Like, well, I just thought maybe fuck off.
So, were you in Tijuana before or after you were married?
Ha! This is way before I was married. First time I did speed. Did I mention I'm a preacher's kid? Okay. But that was a fantastic concert. They opened with This Is Not a Love Song.
Nice.
I stage dove. I didn't get in the video, though my buddy stage dove and got in the video. And then they closed with Rise, and that's really all I remember.
Sounds like a phenomenal night.
Yeah. Oh, you know what else I remember? Is he came on, Johnny Lydon, at this point, walked on stage in red Reebok high tops, because this is early 90s. Red Reebok, like, vinyl shorts, I guess. And a red Reebok zip-up running jacket, all same color, holding a surfboard with his face spray painted on it.
That's ridiculous.
It was so ridiculous. It was awesome.
That is so 90s ridiculous.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, the 90s. What were people thinking wearing that shit? I mean, you look back at the 80s and go, what the fuck were people thinking? You look back at the 70s, what the fuck were people thinking? I'm sure in 10 years people will look back and like, what the fuck were you guys thinking?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But puka shells and fucking pants that, 24-inch fucking cuffs. Like, what
Right.
the fuck?
Absolutely.
The fuck were we thinking?
Absolutely. It's all cyclical. Well,
Awesome.
sir, I hate to call this short.
Oh.
But I know, man, but I got to get home. My wife is... my wife's a costume designer for movies, and she's on location for, like, the next 4 months.
So a lot of porn for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I know all that stuff we talked about earlier. So,
Well, hopefully you'll learn her name in the next 4 months.
I know, I feel so bad. I got to Google it. I'm going to get off Google it, and I'm going to make you record again just so I can give this girl props. I feel so bad.
Just text Norton and be like, who's the big titted girl?
I know I should. And are you going to edit this? I'm sorry. I don't.
A little bit, maybe.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I can't figure out Anna. I don't know. I'm doing any kind of ANN because it's a weird spelling of a regular name. Like
Of
if your
course it
name was
is.
Matt, it would be MRKS. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember her name. I haven't seen her in a while, so I think she stopped.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, no, maybe. Well, she got into the lucrative world of stand-up. So,
Doesn't Sam have a whole bit about that? About
what?
porn stars leaving? That comedy is a lower tier of entertainment than porn? That porn stars keep
That
leaving,
sounds like him.
keep leaving porn to do comedy?
That sounds like him.
It's like, oh yeah, that's kind of right.
Right. I think I'll be with Sam. My podcast, the Road Stories podcast, that Sam's been on 1,000 times, is part of the All Things Comedy Network, and so is Sam's podcast. So we're doing the big All Things Comedy Festival in Phoenix coming up next month.
Why in Phoenix? Why?
I don't know. I didn't ask why Phoenix.
Phoenix is literally the worst place on earth.
Hold on. I toured the Middle East doing stand-up last year. I might have to...
Okay, they're dry countries. That's
Okay,
probably
thank
worse.
you.
In America.
Okay. All right. I've never been to Phoenix, so...
Oh, it's all the bad parts of Vegas with none of the good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's a lot of bad parts.
Yeah. It's like, blistering desert, strip malls, subdivisions, no gambling.
Right.
And, well, Sheriff Joe's out now, but a lot of his policies are still there. You get a DUI there, you get to live in a tent city with pink underwear for a little while.
Oh, that's right. Jeez.
The only redeeming part about Phoenix for a Chicago native such as myself is...
Oh, you're a Chicago guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of Chicago, like, chains down there. There's Giordano's Pizza, there's
Okay.
Lou Malnati's, there's Portillo's. So if I wanna go
Now I grew up in New Jersey, so I can't get behind you on the pizza thing.
I understand.
All right.
Actually, what you should try next time you're in Chicago...
I do the Chicago Improv a lot,
Okay, cool.
which is actually not in Chicago.
Yeah,
it's in Schaumburg.
Yeah, I used to go there a lot, like, when I lived in Chicago.
Okay, great.
I actually just told a bunch of my friends to go see Bert there in, like, 2 weeks.
Oh, absolutely. I'm hoping to get Bert on my podcast at the Phoenix Festival. I have not approached him yet.
I grabbed him on Friday, and we're going to do a full show of this.
Oh, awesome.
Once he's drinking again.
And I'm putting my hand over my mouth in hopes that nobody hears this.
I'm hoping Bert starts listening to this. So
Okay. Bert's been on my show. He's awesome.
yeah, it was just bad timing. It's like, you're doing Sober October, and I actually can sit down with you? Like, God damn it.
I know, right?
This show's about drinking.
That's the other thing, too. That's at the end of October, and he's still going to be in Sober October.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
Won't be as much fun.
I know.
What you should do is, like, go to one of the Chicago chains and get the thin crust.
Oh, okay, because I've only had the deep dish.
Like Giordano's does a really good thin crust. It's like a cracker crust,
Right.
And they cut it in squares.
Right.
Actually, really good.
Okay.
That's what like real Chicagoans actually eat on a regular basis.
Oh, really? They don't eat the
deep dish is like once in a blue moon.
Because it's really fucking a lot.
Yeah.
Because you can't, like, the thing about Jersey and New York is, like, let's go get a slice. You get a slice and you continue on your day.
Yeah,
you sit down with a deep dish, that's an hour.
Yeah, that's
an hour and a half.
with your family.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like Christmas morning. They got to open the present.
Absolutely.
Open the present. Yeah, but the thin crust, like square cut, is really what real Chicagoans eat on a regular basis.
Okay. But is it a kind of thin crust where if you don't chew it right, the corner like cuts your neck, your throat as you swallow it?
A little bit.
All right.
It's still really good.
Sometimes I enjoy.
A little masochistic.
I think that's actually another subgenre of porn, the cut throat while you swallow.
I'm sure I know a girl that does that regularly.
Now, I have a lot of Chicago comedian friends. I don't know if you... Like, I know the old guard.
Okay.
Like Jimmy Pardo, Mike Siegel, Pat Francis, Paul Gilmartin, who is now Jimmy Dore. I had Jimmy Dore and Paul Gilmartin on my podcast this last week.
Awesome.
But I also know the new crew, like Kyle Kinane, who had a podcast. I don't know, Matt Bronger. I'm thinking John Roy, Kumail, all those guys.
Very, very famous Kumail doing SNL now.
I know, he just got SNL now. Yeah, that's hilarious.
So I guess we will actually cut this so you can get to your wife or
Yeah.
your porn or whatever you're actually
Porn
going
or
to.
whatever. I'm hungry. That's what I want to go.
All this pizza talk.
I know, seriously. Yeah. Where do you find a good Chicago pizza in Los Angeles?
Masa of Echo Park.
Okay.
1600 Sunset.
I did the whole Echo Park, Los Feliz, Beechwood Canyon thing. Now I'm older and married with a child. I live on the west side. I can't associate with you.
Sorry to hear that. Hollywood represents.
Oh, where are you at in Hollywood?
Pretty much Hollywood Boulevard and the 101. I'm on the 10 on the overpass.
Hold on. Hollywood Boulevard and the 10, like, where is that? Give me a landmark.
The 101?
You idiot.
It's a pretty big goddamn landmark.
By the way, idiot is a compliment for me. Give me a building landmark where the 101 in Hollywood is.
Let's see. We have a self-storage place right there.
Is it the... Oh, my buddy painted the mural. My old roommate painted the mural on that.
Okay.
I know exactly, because I used to live on Beechwood.
Okay.
So you're near Argyle, you're near...
no one's really going to stalk me, but I'm off Bronson.
Okay. I lived on Bronson for a while. And my buddy Joe Sib, do you know who Joe Sib is?
I know.
Joe Sib is a punk rocker. He's in a band called Wax, LA-based band called Wax, and they went on 22 Jacks with Chris Shiflett from Foo Fighters.
Okay.
Now he runs Side One Dummy Records, and he's a comedian also. Their office is right there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Should just show up with a recorder and be like, yo, podcasting.
Dude, he will talk to you anytime you want.
Awesome.
Let me know. And he,
I don't even have to bring the porn star?
No. He's married with, he's like a good old aging punk rocker. He's married with kids and lives in Glendale. I just gave his town out. I apologize, Joe.
I'm sure they won't be able to find him in all of Glendale. It's not that small.
That's true. It is a big town.
I gave like my cross streets, so and that's where we record too. So maybe I have to edit that. No, it's been said enough times.
Okay, cool.
I keep telling the Tommies it's a landmark, anyways.
Right. Absolutely.
Awesome. So I know you got to run.
Yeah.
We probably could do this for hours.
Dude, I'm having a blast talking to you. I hope I'm not just rambling and hijacking your show. I apologize.
No, we need to exchange contact info and do it like a real show.
I would love to.
Well, in the meantime, where can our audience find you?
You can catch my Road Stories podcast, which is just comedians riffing and talking about the crazy shit that happens on the road. You can get that at roadstories.tv or part of the All Things Comedy Network. Or just Google Murray Valeriano and Road Stories. That comes up. At Murray V on Twitter, Murray V Comedy on Instagram, and the Facebooks is up there and all that other stuff.
Awesome.
I had a blast talking to you tonight.
Yeah, no, we got to do this. Like, I'm dead serious. I'll hit stop. We'll exchange numbers. We'll set it up for like a real full show.
Absolutely. I'll brush up on my metal docs and...
It's okay. My co-host isn't a metalhead. You can just brush up on your porn.
I'll brush up on my porn, which I'll be doing in an hour. And
all right, from LA Podfest, we're out.
Thank you very much, man.
LA Podfest Day 3, we were sitting down with Samm Levine, star of Not another teen movie.
Yes, indeed. Guilty as charged.
Awesome. So this show is, and now we drink. So normally we're a long format, drinking show and sit and bullshit. But since we have very limited time from you,
Right, and I'm a terrible drinker.
Terrible.
Terrible.
Like,
I have no tolerance.
oh well, that leads into our next question, which is your favorite drunk story.
Oof, God, I don't have many of them because I try not to get drunk because it happens very easily, and I'm not a fun drunk. I'm a tired drunk.
Oh, that's the worst.
See, it's important to know what your strengths and weaknesses are in life, and a weakness for me is smoking and drinking. I have no happy stories. I guess the only even remotely funny drunk memory that I have, I may or may not have been underage at the time. I was 19, and
at least it wasn't your bar mitzvah.
it was not my bar mitzvah or my bris.
You definitely got wine at your breast.
Oh yeah, I had some brandy then. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I will tell you the story. That's the story I was going to tell you. I swear to God, it's not even funny. When I was 18 years old, I was in Vancouver for the very first time, and the drinking age in Vancouver is 19.
All right.
It's 18 in different provinces of Canada, but in BC, it's British Columbia. It's 19. So I was 18, and I was up there for the first time shooting a TV show, and I went out with the writer of the episode of the show to this insane, great sushi restaurant, and we ordered sake and beer, and that was the first time I ever got legitimately drunk.
Awesome.
I'd been buzzed on, beer and what before, but this time I was fucking hammered. And so the restaurant was at the top level of a Holiday Inn. It was a sushi restaurant.
The best sushi comes from Holiday Inn.
This guy, he's so famous. I believe his name is Tojo. I think it's Tojo Sushi, yeah. And he's now in a much better location.
I'd hope so.
But also in the basement of this Holiday Inn was a casino. So I get up there, I get wasted drunk on sake and beer, and then my buddy and I go down to the casino. And we start playing blackjack. And drunk as I am, they just let me buy in and play and everything.
Of course, they want your money.
Yeah, and he's like, all right, I'm exhausted. I got to get up for work tomorrow. Meanwhile, I didn't have to work the next day. So I was like, I'm going to stay a little longer. I stay there and I win like $600 Canadian.
So
and then
$5?
Yeah,
$6?
right? And so I'm feeling great about myself. And then I'm about to cash out, and they're like, can we see some ID? And I was like, you know what? I think I left it in my room. I'm staying across town. Sorry. I'll just, I'll bring it tomorrow or whatever. It's not a big deal. And they were like, yeah, well, you're not cashing out until we see some ID. I was like, well, hang on. If I'd have lost, would you be asking me for ID?
Right.
And they were like, that's not what we said. I was like, that's what I'm saying.
And they were like, you keep the chips?
Yeah. And they were like, all right, wait here. And I'm standing there and I'm waiting, and then a security guard comes and he gets me. He's like, follow me. And he grabs my chips from me, and he takes me to this weird back room, and then he sits me down, and he leaves me in this interrogation room. He leaves me there for 40 minutes.
Holy
and I'm
shit.
just sitting there, and there's no cell service, and I'm a little panicked. And then he walks back, and he's like, yeah, so what hotel are you staying at? And I tell him, and he's like, okay. And then he leaves for another half hour. And then he comes back and he's like, I know you're lying. You're not 19. He's like, you're underage. And I was like, how do you know this? And he was just like, are you questioning me? Are you denying it? And I was like, buddy, I came in here, I gambled, I won. You owe me money. That's the end of it. If I'd have lost, you'd have kept my money. And he was like, you're in a lot of trouble, man. You're in a lot of trouble. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to keep these, meaning the rack of chips. He's like, I'm going to keep these, and you're going to get the hell out of here and never come back. Meanwhile, that had my initial buy-in of $100 Canadian in there.
Right.
And I was like, dude, at least give me my buy-in back. And he's like, don't talk back to me. I'm doing you a favor. Get the hell out of here. And I was like, boy, and here I heard all Canadians were super nice people. Thanks for letting me know there are assholes here. And so I left. Now, in fairness, I was underage. But again,
still.
I maintain, and I was also very drunk, I maintain, had I lost the $100,
They would have taken
they
it.
would have never asked for ID.
in a
It's not like they would have been like, oh, you're underage, here's the money back.
Yeah.
There
They
you
would
go.
have been like, they would have taken the money. Hell, you want a line of credit?
Yeah, right?
You want to gamble some more?
Yeah. Now, that's not a great drunk story, and me being drunk really only adds to how belligerent I was. Because if I'd have been sober, I'd have been like, oh, shit, I should probably get out of here. This could turn really bad. This could be like an incident. They could have me arrested. They could call the producers of the show I'm working on and have to have them bail me out. So that's the drunk aspect is I was too drunk to realize how quickly south that could have gone.
I still feel like you handled it correctly.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like maybe in hindsight I did, because I didn't wind up getting arrested. I feel okay about it. But, yeah, man, I'm a bad drinker.
Good to know.
There
It's
you
good
go.
As you said, it's good to know your strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
Sam, I know you're on very limited time.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing the show. Where can our audience find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Samm Levine, SAMMLEVINE.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.